Hello there, Atheist Junior here, your friend and humble narrator, and I'm super excited because the boys are back together. We have Three Musketeers reunited, Miami Heat of YouTube apologetics debunking, and today we're going to be looking at a really interesting video. This is a debate that Kent Hovind did, and the person he's debating is he's going to give a really cringy intro about her, but basically she's from an organization called Black Nonbelievers, which is an atheist organization in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a predominantly religious city. Like they have a very strong religious population, and I think that's part of why she works with that organization. You know what I mean? But I've watched a little bit of this debate, and this is atheism versus creationism, which is not something that Ken Hovind usually does. There doesn't seem to be a moderator, and she's actually in person at DAL. So I think this is a bit special, but I want to just take time to introduce my guest. We have Grayson from Base Theory. How are you doing?
Hey, good to be back. Good to be back. Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm very happy to be back on the channel, AJ, and to be back with you and Mark here for another one of these we're reunited for another one of these reaction videos. I like coming on your channel so much. I will even come back to react and listen to Kent Hovind, who I've done multiple debates with before. I've also gone down to Dinosaur Adventureland and talked to Kent there. And I can only handle so much more Kent Hovind in my life. So, I have to really like coming back on the channel to come back to listen to more of Kent. So glad to be here, AJ, and good to see you, Mark.
Yeah.
It's great to see you, mate. Great to see you.
Yeah. And Mark Reed, friend of the channel from Australia. How are you doing?
Yeah. Getting this organized was a bit of a shambles, to be honest with you. Sort of trying to organize us to work together it's fine. It's totally fine. But yeah, I've just done a stream. I'm really looking forward to this. I sent this over to AJ and went, "Are you doing this?" Because I have seen part of it, and like it's just he is so bad. He's getting worse and worse. And yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm feeling really good. It's fantastic to be back with AJ. It's been insane amounts of time since we've done anything, and way too long. So, and Grayson, I think you're on a panel of mine. I think you're on the I had a celebration for 1,000 that you're on, which you haven't had a celebration yet, sir. Or 2,000 celebration. I don't think you've had.
I've got to celebrate 2,500 now. I just passed the 2,500 mark. So that's the next celebration that I definitely have to do now. I've been out of town for a minute. I'm still not quite at my house at the moment. That's why my lighting is a little bit funky tonight, but
that's all right.
I will be back soon. I will be doing a celebration stream at some point for 2,500 subscribers. So yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, I just generally debate and debunk pseudoscience on my channel. So that's why I'm so familiar with Kent.
Yeah, and Robin told me about Mandisa going down to Dinosaur Adventureland, and I thought, wow, that is courageous. I sort of gather, I don't know her, but I gathered from watching, she has no shortage of courage. She does not back away, back down, roll over, or generally sort of evade or dodge anything. She is so absolutely... Yeah, she is a formidable woman, as you know, from first watching her. So props to her. I don't think I'd be that courageous, to be honest with you. I know you went there, Grayson. With props to you, I was impressed as well, but I don't think I'd be that courageous. I just don't like the idea of religious compounds. Like,
yeah, I mean, being like basically the only person that's not part of this cult over at Dinosaur Adventureland, and like, I don't know if she stayed the night or if she left after this debate, but at least for me, knowing that I would be staying the night there after I spoke with Kent made me a lot more on my toes than if I was just on a Zoom call or something.
Right.
So
yeah,
for sure, she's got to be a very brave woman to go into the lion's den like that. And yeah, I'm super excited to hear what angle she approaches this exchange with.
Alrighty, well, let's get started. We're gonna play Kent's cringy intro. It's only like 3 minutes, but I want to see what he says about her because he spelled her name wrong in the title of the video, and we're pretty sure that this is not actually a picture of her. But yeah, let's get started.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I just want to mention that Kent does this a lot. If somebody spanks him, he will spell their name wrong in his title. Like he spelt mine R-E-E-D, right? Which is not how you spell my name. I've noticed that he does this a lot with people that he doesn't like. And I think it's so, if somebody sees the video and goes, well, that guy's got some good ideas, or Mandisa's got some good ideas, let's search for her, they can't find her. And I think that's intentional. I don't think it's by accident.
Alrighty.
Well, your maiden name. Yeah.
Well, my main name is Dixon, but that is not me.
That's not you?
That is a woman who looks similar to me, but
that's what came up on the internet.
Nope, that's not me. That's a
Or
different
what?
Mandisa.
Well, that on the screen is not me either. This is me over here. Okay.
Well, yeah, no,
That's a different. I'm sorry, that's what came up. Anyway,
okay.
born in New York City.
So he can't tell the difference
black
between
nationalist household that wasn't religious.
people. He can't tell the difference that is not her. Like he doesn't understand that Mandisa, Thomas, there might be more than one of them, which just shows how damn racist he is.
And he tries to deflect with humor and tries to spin it off like a joke rather than just, I don't know, maybe just take any amount of accountability and like just maybe apologize for putting the
just
wrong
say sorry.
Yeah. Like, come on, just own up to it. You see, he just doesn't want to take responsibility for any kind of mistake or error, and just tries to be like, oh, that's not a picture of me either. Just tries to make a whole joke of it when, like, come on, right off the bat, your very first foot into this conversation, you've already just put the wrong picture of the person you're going to be talking to.
Yeah, I would like to know, Kent says that this was the first photo to come up, but I'm wondering, what was his search query? Was he searching for his name, or did he just look up black woman on Google? And that's the first image that came up.
No, that's a Mandisa Thomas. She's apparently a program coordinator at Penn University. But
then it's
it's
an honest
not
mistake, you know?
I mean,
Well,
they
but
literally just saw like,
they don't even look similar.
Short hair, that's close enough. It just put it on.
Right.
Like the fact that nobody caught that and nobody was like, wait a minute, that's like a totally different person. Like,
but they don't even look similar. That's the thing. Like they don't even, look that similar. They don't even look the same. Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
Religious, although some extended members were, and she sang in church choirs. I'd like to hear you sing sometime. In 2011, she founded the Black Non-Believers of Atlanta. As president of the Black Non-Believers, she urged people to come out and stand strong with their non-belief. I agree. You should stand strong on whatever you believe. Christians need to take a lesson from me on that one, okay? She serves on the board of the American Atheist and is a board nominating committee chair for the American Humanist Association. Previously held board positions with the Foundation Beyond Belief, Secular Coalition for America, 2016 Reason Rally. She was named Unitarian Universalist Humanist Associates 2018 Person of the Year as a free thought heroine in 2019 by Freedom from Religion. Okay, regularly presents at conferences nationwide, has appeared on major media such as CBS Sunday Morning, CNN, been featured in Jet, Playboy, The Humanist magazines, and other print and online media, including Freedom, Free Thought, Freedom from Religion, Free Thought Matters. She and her husband Craig, who's also an atheist, were married in 2006, live in Atlanta, and have 3 children. She's been on the Matt Dillahunty show. So have I. Okay, I did Whack an Atheist with Matt Dillahunty. What's that? A month ago. Okay,
that's not
the same thing.
Ranking religious debates.
Yeah,
Kent
it's
Hovind,
not
Matt
the same thing. And
Yeah.
he has called the atheistic spirit. Like he called up being a caller and being a host is not the same thing. It's just his it's just his ego. He wants to, I've been there as well.
isn't it incredible how Kent Hovind could take an introduction for somebody else and make it about himself?
Yeah.
I was just
and-
talking about narcissists on my channel, like, oh,
Well,
wow.
it's the universe. It's manifested, or it's something related to the zodiac that happened. I'm sure. But yeah, like, I like this thumbnail, by the way. I wonder if I'm on there. Probably not. But yeah, why isn't she saying this stuff? Why is Kent saying it? He did the same thing to me in our first debate.
Mhm.
He just Googles people and then just plasters whatever information, whether or not it's correct, onto his slides. That's why his slide said that I was 5'1", just because there was a typo on the website.
Yeah, I think
5'11" and all that stuff.
he tries to make it personal. So I think it's just a tactic to make you think about yourself and become uncomfortable. A lot of people are made uncomfortable by excessive talking about themselves. So I think he's just trying to make them uncomfortable as possible. He'll probably thread in things that, maybe shade in their past or something he doesn't like about them. I don't know. I don't think it is to promote and like uphold them or anything.
Yeah, and he thinks that he can do that by bringing up her race. Watch for Kent to do that multiple times during this debate.
Mm-hmm.
Matt
Doesn't surprise
Dillahunty,
me.
Bart Ehrman. Okay. Matt Dillahunty versus Kent Hovind, Atheist Experiments. So she did a great session on how to identify white supremacist ideals. Now, listen, if you think you're superior because of the color of your skin, you're stupid. Okay? Real stupid. I've talked for years about racism. There's no biblical reason for it. You don't think you're because of your skin color. Have a weekly Sunday gathering. We do too. You only need to move just a little further. You can be Baptist again. Okay. Let's see.
That's me right there.
That's you. Okay. There we go. Well, that's actually a picture of you. Okay. Let's see. She says in the box here, I was exposed to Christianity, Islam, and different forms of supernaturalism that is rampant in our community. She told a secular woman interview. In her early teens, let's see, I thought maybe I was spiritual but not religious because I knew how Christianity was forced on blacks. Before long, she ended up firmly in the atheist camp. Well, folks, I love a person who's motivated to spread their belief. Why aren't more Christian activists for their Savior who died for them? What on earth are you doing, for heaven's sake? Okay, so let's convert Mandisa to the Lord while she visits DAL, and she can use her passion to bring people to heaven. Mandisa, welcome to Dinosaur Adventureland. Why don't you tell us why you're an atheist? Explain to us what the atheist religion teaches about how the world got here, why we're here, and where you're going when you die. Welcome. Help me welcome Mandisa to Dinosaur Adventureland. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you to your awesome team, Sergio, Joseph. They have been quite hospitable, and I will say that there are many other human beings who could learn and benefit from their hospitality.
Okay.
Having been in hospitality as a career myself, I do value that, and also how other human beings are treated. And that is what informs my identity as an atheist and a humanist. And first, I would like to get into some definitions. So atheism, as a definition, is the rejection of belief in gods, and I expand that to also spirits and supernatural beings as existing entities, as in you and I sitting here right now. I do not believe that any God, spirits, or supernatural beings exist in that form. And my reasoning for that is similar to what you said in your introduction. I was raised around various religions. So I don't just simply believe that the Christian deity does not exist in actual form like we do. I contend that all religions, all cultural beliefs are relegated to folklore. They are relegated to historical factors as far as what people used to believe and what people currently believe, but none that can actually qualify on an evidentiary basis, meaning that they do not exist as we are all sitting here. So that is not simply a belief. It is the lack of the belief. It is the rejection of said beliefs that have been reported to exist and that these gods supposedly exist. I, again, am informed by my upbringing, my background, and my education. And I am proud to say that I was, like I said, raised in the Black conscious community, which taught a lot about Black history and culture. And I will be bringing up some facts, especially that relate to the state of Alabama. And you mentioned that, yes, there is no room for racism, and I absolutely agree. However, there has been plenty of justification and implementation of racist ideals, primarily by Christians. So I think it is very, very important, even in the state where we are sitting today. So, and that is historic, that those are facts. So where I contend that my atheism is valid is that, one, there is no concrete evidence or proof that any God exists. And as far as the creationism, as far as the creationist argument or the presentation, there are four major forms, which is young Earth creationist, which I know is what you and your camp are. That is what y'all believe. There's also progressive creationism. You have intelligent design, and also theistic evolution. And I know you just did a debate with the theistic evolutionists recently, is yesterday. So the fact that there are four major different forms of creationism in itself does speak to the varied viewpoints of how the Bible in particular is interpreted, what people get from it, and that it's all subject, again, to interpretation.
Can I just say something quickly?
Some
just a little nitpick, but it's really like my brain. It's why is Dr. Kent Hovind in massive letters and then the atheist? Like, I'm sorry, it probably doesn't mean a lot, but why is his name like so much bolder than hers? Like, it just, sorry, my brain is going, that's not right.
The way they've entered it in is like Kent's name is the headline and Mandisa's is the subtitle.
Just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, AJ, you're on mute, by the way.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if that's intentional, but I mean, it might as well be.
I don't know. Just my brain is going, ugh.
So far, I like her approach. I really like the way that she was looking at Kent in the beginning. Like, I feel like we're in a good debate. We're in for a really good like back and forth in the open discussion, just based on the look that she was giving to Kent. It was awesome. And then right now, though, I feel like it's kind of like she's talking to an audience she's talking to an audience that might not even be familiar with who Kent Hovind is. So I'm not sure if she's kind of talking to more of like her own audience or something, or like what audience she's really intending to. Because if she's at Dal or she's on Kent's stream, like they all know about he's a young Earth creationist and they know about creationism and stuff. So I'm interested to see where she takes this.
Scientific theory, some scientific practice. Now, I am not a scientist. I am a community organizer. I am a mother. I am a parent. I'm a wife. You know, I am a community leader. And most importantly, I'm a Black woman in this country who has to deal with other societal factors. So these are all of what inform my lack of belief in any divine intervention or divine being. Now, certainly there are different forms of creationism. There are different creation stories from various religions, and Christianity is just but one, and they have taken from older religions, some from Egyptian mythology, some from probably Greek and Hindu mythology. So there is a melting pot, if you will, beliefs that make up and comprise Christianity and other beliefs. And when you study it, when you look at it and you compare and contrast, all of which are based around simply belief and cannot be quantified in an evidentiary manner, it leaves so many interpretations. So it's so subjective and cannot be qualified so that anyone should simply believe in these entities as if they actually exist. And another problem with that is that these beliefs are often infused into public policy. They are often forced on other people to believe, which is how we got the transatlantic slave trade, which is how we got the Inquisition, which is how we got the Crusades historically. And so if there is a loving God that is to be believed and that is to be real, then there would leave very little room for interpretation. Everyone here would be on the same page. There would be even very little dissent within the Christian belief. And there are so many different denominations of Christian belief that we can tackle. But as my position as an atheist is that none of them are real. None of them exist beyond human imagination, human creation. And there are many forms of things that we believe in, like Santa Claus or other fictional characters that can offer some benefit in life lessons, things that we can take and live as better human beings. But as far as stating that they are actually real, I definitely, as an atheist, and many of the atheists that I represent, will say that it is insufficient to qualify on an evidentiary basis, and so therefore we reject them. Yeah, and that's all I have for now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, ma'am. Let's see. Many points, talking points here. You are correct that people throughout history have misused the Bible and other books to justify their racism. It's tragic. I live in Alabama. Believe me, I understand. But I'm from Illinois, and we won the war, by the way. Remember that, okay? The North won the war. So I think it was awful and hideous what happened in American history, and I'm embarrassed by that. I wasn't here at the time when it happened. But if I'd been president, I'd have done it sooner, okay? No reason to enslave anybody. But we got to be cautious, because that's exactly what's happening now with some political parties that are trying to enforce their, you have to pay for everybody else's, healthcare or welfare or something like that. If it's forced on you,
Is he complaining about taxes? Is he complaining about taxes?
This is so wild. Is Kent Hovind really like trying to say, guys, look, I'm not racist, okay? Like, first of all, okay, I'm not even from Alabama, okay? I'm from the guys that won the war, and even if I was alive back then, if I was president instead of Abraham Lincoln, I would have freed the slaves even before Abraham Lincoln did. That's how unracist I am. Like, I've never heard anyone go to such lengths, like, to try to prove they're not racist, as to being like, I would have done a better job than Abraham Lincoln. I'm so not racist.
This is the same man who has said that the Civil War was about states' rights.
Oh, God, of course he would.
Yeah, of course he did. And he has it actually in a video where he's talking about the wrong side won the war. He actually says that the wrong side won the Civil War because the states' rights were not upheld.
Yeah.
Slavery were happening right now, but it's not over with, okay? But it's on the other shoe on the other foot. Let's see. Many historical factors. He said there's no evidence for a deity. I understand that. I think that's why I think most Christians admit we believe. We have a faith. We believe. That's the only logical answer. Somebody had to make this world. The atheists, I don't think they admit they have just as much of a religion. You have to believe there is no God. You can't prove such a thing. You can believe that.
I feel like that was
I said, how did this ink pen?
Like he just acknowledged, he said, of course there's no evidence for God, which I was surprised that he would even acknowledge. But then he said, you have to believe it. But then he said, it's the only logical explanation. A God would have had to have made them. I'm like, well, wait a minute, which is it? Is it that there's no evidence and you just have to believe in God? Or is it that we have evidence that there's only one logical explanation for the universe, for the explanation for the evidence that we have?
Well, that's not the same thing, Grayson. So when you're talking about evidence, you're really talking about an inductive argument. You're talking about, okay, there's a series of things that have happened, and that inductively says that the conclusion is that there is a God. When you're talking about logically, you're talking about a deductive argument. You're talking about there is no other explanation except for that one explanation, right? So deductive isn't really using evidence. It's basically saying, well, there is no other logical way. So if you eliminate all possibilities,
but
one,
I accept like logical argumentation as evidence. So like it just is weird to me that he says there's no evidence, you just have to take it on faith. But then he also says there's only one logical answer and all other answers are illogical. It's like that just seems contradictory.
Well, and plus, like there's no problem logically with a magic unicorn doing it. There's nothing that transcends logic about that. Like logic doesn't tell you what the actual answer is. All it tells you, if you're doing it deductively, then you've got to deductively eliminate everything from universe creating pixies, as Matt Delahunty says, to the Blarney stone that I say, to every single possibility that how the universe came down, including the naturalistic ones, which he has not done logically. So he is absolutely wrong.
Kent Hovind using ambiguous, messy, and hyperbolic language? No way.
Yeah, so he says that,
Shocking.
I admit that I believe this based on faith. And, they'll go on to say that, like, if you don't have direct observation of something, then that's not science. And yet he named his ministry Creation Science Evangelism.
Yeah.
But he's never seen God create a universe or create a planet or create any animal, whether or not it's the same kind, which he can't even define.
Right.
All right, let's go.
Pin get here? Well, there are two choices that I can think of. Somebody made it or nobody made it. It made itself. If there's a third option, tell me. I don't know what it is. Okay. So if I chose to believe nobody made this, I think people would think I'm a fool. I don't know who made it. I don't know where he is, and I don't care. But I know somebody made it. I think if you look at nature or biology or earth science, or if you just study anything around us, you'd have to say, somebody had to make this. The only alternative that's ever been offered against that is the universe made itself from a big bang, an explosion, a dot exploded, a dot of nothing exploded. I think that's completely silly. So if there's another alternative that you know of, Mandisa, about how did the world get here? How did we get here? Why are we here? And what happens when we die? Those are three fundamental questions that every religion tries to answer. So how did the world get here in your mind, Mandisa?
Okay, so I'm speaking as a layperson here.
Okay.
I am speaking as someone who is a history nerd, I will say.
Okay, me
as
too.
well as someone who values science and science education. Now, taking your example of the pen, and this is our lovely Black non-believers pen here for those who are looking. There is a story about the history of pens, which has started in 3200 BC. Now, I know that we know that to be before Christ. So the use of writing tools, definitely, there's a history there.
Right.
So to just simply say, well, I don't know where it came from without any sort of critical inquiry could be considered disingenuous. So there has been many scientific inquiries, many historical inquiries, and we can certainly, even if there is something that we don't know firsthand, like you said, you weren't there at the time of when the laws actually justified slavery, racism, segregation, Jim Crow laws, which were very, very active in the state of Alabama here in particular. We certainly can look to the history of it and also how it has changed over time, how pens were made, how they were used, and we can see that through different forms. There is definitely historical data, different cultures, cultural data from archaeologists, not just paleontologists or people who use the scientific method, but also historians. There are plenty of ways to date those. And there has been enough in the way of scientific inquiry to trace back our roots of human origin, our different origin of species. And I noticed that there are a lot of dinosaur replicas here on your facility, which is great, but actually there are species that are older than dinosaurs. The common cockroach is actually one of the oldest species on Earth, actually, as well as sharks and alligators. So we're looking at reptiles here that were definitely older. So it didn't just start at dinosaurs, as history and dating and scientific inquiry and methodology has shown. So there are plenty of ways to find out how things were, how things came to be, how they did evolve over time. And a form of slavery, you mentioned slavery for people paying for other people's welfare, but I thought that was the thing that many Christians seek to do. If there are people who are in need, if there are those who cannot afford to pay their bills, should there not be a communal practice for us to help each other? That is the humane thing to do. That is not enslavement. The enslavement is for people to have way more than others have, and they are living in poverty and they are suffering. And another form of enslavement is to believe, or to have people believe, that God created this suffering so that they can have this heaven in the afterlife. And my position as an atheist is that that is inhumane, and that everyone should have, every human being should be able to live a life where they have this inquiry, where they are able to have better access to education, better access to information, and also to have the liberty to believe or disbelieve what they want. However, there is a number, there is so much information at the tip of, at our fingertips, that we can look at, even if it is not something that we actually are experts in. There are certainly a lot of things that we can look to, and we can take the information and decide whether it is valid or not. But based on a method that can be replicated, that can actually be presented in a form that leaves no room for doubt. So that is how, taking that example there, it's not just simply enough. It is okay to say, I don't know, when we don't have the answers to things. But there's so much information at our fingertips that we can look up to say, well, we may not know, but there is the plausible means for how it started and how we got here now. And it is through years of, and probably centuries, if not more so, of human ingenuity, inquiry, and exploration.
Okay,
Well, I just want to say quickly, I love that she hit him with the, hey, shouldn't Christians take care of people kind of thing. Like, she hit him with the obligation that you should have to use wealth for those less fortunate, which Kent doesn't do at all. He exploits people with less wealth than him. It's the reason why his Dinosaur Adventureland technically is a homeless shelter. Although if you stay there, he will put you to work doing work around his homeless shelter, which is just ridiculous. And I also love the way that she sort of addressed, hey, like, isn't it just horrible that how cheaply he's using the word slavery? Like, oh, slavery is paying taxes. No, stop. Like, seriously, let's not cheapen that word by applying it. Like, I've heard this from slavery apologists again and again. Oh, people have contracts with the NBA, so they're enslaved. Come on, let's not cheapen that word and compare somebody who's exploited in China working for, not enough money to feed the whole family with, something exploitative like wage slavery, and, an NBA player making millions. Come on, let's be real about this. The fact that you've got to pay taxes is not slavery. Come on now.
Right. And Kent Hovind, again, this is a person who on their radio show many years ago said that if you put somebody's food stamps under their working boots, that they'd starve to death, which is inherently, he didn't mention talking about a specific race of a person, but that's a historically racist joke against Black people. And he has a history of being vehemently against welfare or any governmental programs designed to create a type of social safety net so people don't fall through the cracks of our society when they get, an unexpected injury and they have medical expenses that are thousands of dollars and bankrupts them. And he thinks that's my money. Don't take it away from me, even though he doesn't buy into the system where you pay taxes and you get the benefits for it. He just wants the benefits.
So,
and I mean, Dinosaur Adventureland is worth about $1 million, and he puts all of his money to hide it into DAL and then takes it out from there. He just tax dodges. He's a tax dodger.
So before we hear Kent's response, I just gotta say, Mandisa really has impressed me so far. She's an excellent speaker. She pretty much just dominated that response. Kent, I don't even think he tried to cut her off or interrupt her. She makes it hard to do so because she has really, really good speaking cadence. You can just listen to her very easily. She's a great speaker. The only thing that I'm still uncertain of is which audience that she's coming at this in mind, of like what audience she thinks she's speaking to, because obviously like that was an interesting way of dealing with Kent's analogy with the pen, as saying like, well, like in the real world, we would do an analysis of the pen. We would try to figure out as much as we possibly can about the pen to figure out for sure, like where it came from and who made it. And like, for like, again, like an audience that maybe has never heard about this analogy, have never heard about Kent Hovind, like that's a good strategy, because she brings up a good point. Like, yeah, when we actually go and we look at the natural world around us and we learn more about it and do an analysis, we can actually find ways of dating it. Like she's basically talking about radiometric dating without bringing it up. But like, if she knows who she's talking to, then that's going to just open up Pandora's box and derail the whole conversation to be about radiometric dating and where did the extra layers come from? Did they come from outer space? Like it's just gonna open up Kent's whole spiel. And so that's all I'm worried about, like right now, when he's about to respond to everything she said, because she left multiple avenues for which Kent could just unpackage his already like pre-boxed response. You know, it just insert script here, and here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kent waits for people to say keywords when they're talking. He just is waiting for his turn to speak and listening for those certain phrases so he can launch into his script. But if you look at the comment section for this video, you'll notice that it has way more engagement than Kent's videos usually get. Like there are a ton more comments. And I believe it was the same thing in the live chat when this was premiering. So I'm pretty sure that she brought a lot of her own audience onto this video and watching the live debate. I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking, Grayson, but she later in the debate, she says that Kent thinks that the Earth is 10,000 years old. So I'm not sure how much her audience knows specifically about Kent, but yeah.
I watched it on Black Non-Believers and gave them the view just out of
that's good.
Sheer stubbornness. Like
Yeah,
watch it over on
think of
Black
that.
Non-Believers. Don't watch it on Ken's. Ken
I'll put
doesn't
the link.
deserve the view.
I'll put the link in the description.
I'll find
of
it.
this video.
I got you, mate. I'll find it.
All
I
right.
had it in my history.
Pen example. You are correct. People were writing things, you know, with a stick on the dirt or a piece of iron carving into the rock, 3200 BC. It still involves intelligence to pick up the stick and write. Then it developed into the quill, the feather, you know, fill it with ink, and the fountain pen and the ballpoint pen. All of them involve intelligent design. Even the stick writing on the dirt involves intelligent design. This is where you're completely missing the point. The point is, we know this cannot make itself. To follow the history of how we got a pen is completely avoiding the question, how did this pen get here? Somebody had to make this. Somebody had to make this microphone. Somebody had to make this computer. These things, complex things.
Okay, I'm sorry, but how is trying to figure out the history of the pen ignoring the question of how did the pen get here? How does that make sense?
You're just deflecting.
Yeah. He's basically trying to say that because a pen is made by somebody, that means anything has to be made by somebody. And that's a complete non sequitur. That doesn't follow at all. You know, the whole idea of, well, something makes itself. What does that even mean? Because do we say that humans make themselves? No, they've got parents kind of thing. He's just sort of, it's sort of just a deflection from, well, we understand the history of humans, and humans weren't made like in a factory, like a pen. We know this. That's what Mandisa was getting at. And he's sort of like, but you can't explain where the origin point was, so therefore God. No,
Yeah,
that's God of the gaps.
To my understanding, his whole point in the analogy is like, look, here's this thing that we know is made by humans.
Mm-hmm.
This is analogous to the entire universe. And so therefore we know the whole universe must have been made, not by humans, though, by God. That part is not analogous. Don't trace that part. Like, it's like such a weak analogy that, like,
oh yeah,
in my opinion, the best response is to just point out all the ways that it fails to be analogous. But Mandisa had an interesting approach of like taking the analogy at face value and so be like, well, here's what we would do to who made the pen, and that is analogous to what science has done with the universe to figure out where it came from. So like I like her approach of like but she still is not attacking it to even question like, hey, is this even analogous in the first place? Which like obviously it's not.
Things don't happen without a designer. Now, if you wish to believe there was no designer for the universe, which is a bazillion times more complex than an ink pen, that's fine. But I wish the evolutionists would admit that evolution is a religion that they believe in. There's no scientific evidence. You could not prove there's no designer for this pen. I don't have any idea who did it or where they did it, nor do I care. But I know somebody did it. Now, as far as welfare, I think you're confusing something else, horribly confusing this one. I'm very generous. I work hard all the time. I give lots of stuff to everybody. But when you force...
I think you totally could prove that there was no designer for the pen if that really was the case. Like if there was like a naturalistic mechanism that's just creating pens like that, and you could basically just establish so much evidence that that pen was created naturalistically without a designer, if that really was the case. Like, you know, if it was a snowflake or something, you could see the snowflakes being created, like there's no designer involved. Like you can prove that things are made without designers. So this entire premise there is just not true at all.
Right.
Well, plus, we've got evidence of where pens come from. We've got billions of pens being created by humans. We've got a stamp on the pen. We can probably analyze the plastic. The whole point is that if we want to prove that a pen was made by something, we could prove that. Why does Kent just get a pass when it comes to everything else and say, well, it is designed? Like, you've got to show that. You can't just sort of assume it has been designed, because what he's doing is he's shifting the burden of proof. He's basically trying to say, well, I'm going to assume it's designed and you prove it wasn't, is what he's doing.
Right. And if I was going to approach this argument, I would look at it as a way of relating like the designer to whether or not something has a function, not necessarily how something is defined. So if you were going to take it, instead of pens, he's given the example of arrowheads. If you found an arrowhead on like a dirt path, you would just know that it had a designer. But we know that it's possible for natural geologic processes to carve rocks into something that could function as an arrowhead. So even if it wasn't designed by a person as an arrowhead, you could still use it that way. And there's the same thing with a pen. You could make your own pen. Like in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany, they had one camp where the Red Cross was checking on the camp, and so they allowed the children there to have art supplies and make art. And as soon as the Red Cross stopped like doing their checkups, the soldiers took away all of the art supplies and took down all of the drawings from the wall. Well, the kids that were living there were like devastated by this, and they would use like burnt pieces of wood and draw on the underside of their bed in the middle of the night just to be able to make some art. So you could feasibly make a writing utensil yourself. It doesn't have to be identical to a Bic pen. So
there's also something else I want to mention, and this one's a tiny bit more complicated, so bear with me. What you could do is lead Kent down an idea of, well, so you're comparing the design of the pen to non-designed things, right? In order to say, we understand this is designed. Okay, so you're comparing the pen, which is designed, from non-designed things.
Well, Kent doesn't acknowledge that there's anything that's not designed.
Correct, and that's the problem. So basically you're saying, hey, this pen stands out as designed. It is an instance of something that's been designed. Why does it stand out than the pot plant beside you, or the wind going past you, or anything else? Like, why don't you point to the wind and go, we can tell that was designed? Like, you're just assuming everything was designed, but you're pointing to the pen as a special designed thing. Why is that? Because he assumes everything's designed. So what's he comparing this with? What's the similarity? Why does the pen stand out at all if it's all been designed?
Do we know, has anybody ever asked in one of Kent's debates, Kent, could you give an example of just one thing that's not designed?
Right, and that's the question I would suggest. I pulled that on somebody in a debate recently, and it was great to see the mental breakdown after that and the dead silence after. I can't remember who was that new guy on Modern Day Debate. Can't remember his name.
Evidence of God.
Evidence of God. Yeah, that shut him down real fast.
Force people to give. That's not Christian charity. And taxation is forcing people to support people. I support a lot of people. How many of you have I given something to? Okay. That's what the difference. That's what some people think. Well, it ought to be forced on everybody. That's where it's slavery again. So it is another form of slavery. That's another. We'll do another debate on that topic. Okay. You mentioned older than the dinosaurs. I think you've maybe been taught something that's simply not true in your education. Let me see here. You've probably been taught that the layers of the earth are different ages. Put my slides up there, brother. This geologic column does not exist anywhere in the world, okay? Not true. Atheism, let's see. They made up this idea back in 1830 that the layers of the earth are different ages. I say, guys, stop and think about that. How can the layers be different ages? Every speck of dirt in the universe is the same age. Whether you want 6,000 or 6 trillion, I don't care. There is no such thing as a geologic column. I taught earth science 15 years. I'll debate any of the evolutionists on this one, any earth science.
Do we want to waste time on this one, or?
I just want to say that I called it. I said he was going to start talking about this.
Yeah.
Also, just can you
we're
imagine
dating when the rocks form, not their age of their atoms kind of thing, but when they form.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. No, go, Grayson.
I was gonna say, can you imagine how much it must anger Kent when he reads the Bible and he gets to that part where Jesus says, like, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and he's just like, oh, taxes in the Bible. He just hates that part.
Yes, he did just say that, Leo. Yes.
Any geologist, okay? Hate to burst your bubble, but there's no Santa Claus, there's no fairy tale, there's no Easter Bunny, and there's no geologic column. The atheist worldview is based on this column. That's why you said this is older, because it came from a different layer. The whole thing is pure baloney. Tell him I said so. Charles Lyell, British lawyer who hated God, made up this idea.
Hey, shout out Sumami. I just wanted to say that.
Principles of geology. Charles Lyell made up this geologic column. It really influenced Darwin in his studies. Darwin said, wow, the earth is millions of years old. I've asked evolutionists all over the world, guys, if the layers are different ages, where's the new material coming from? Is it coming from outer space? How can the top layer be younger? It's not. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting all the layers. How long does a dead tree stand around? This geologic column, I know it's thoroughly taught and billions of people believe it. That's not how you determine truth. Do a bunch of people believe it? That is not this. It's not how you. Truth isn't determined that way. Let me get to this one right here. Does majority opinion prove something is true?
I like how one of the slides says answering Grayson.
Wait, does it? Oh, that's nice. Nice. So we've covered those
bunch of people
polystrata.
I'll try to pause it. Keep going.
Yeah, we've covered those polystrata trees time and time again. Polystrata doesn't even exist in geological terms. Like, they don't use that word because they're
just upright fossils.
Right. And a lot of them are like embedded trees. But
I feel like Hovind famous right now, answering Grayson. He's got a whole hyperlink for me.
Yeah. Nice. But a lot of those trees, they're not in between layers. They're just in a single layer. Some of them are lycopods. Some of them are karst fossils, where a tree's died and then rock has filled it, basically. Like, they're just... I don't... he still keeps to this narrative.
And this is, I mean, we all know, and I think all of us here have personally explained each of these points to Kent multiple times each. Like, he knows that everything that he just brought up has been answered so many times to his face. So
And he claims it doesn't. He claims it hasn't been. He says they've never answered this before. Like, yeah, me and Grayson and all three of us have debated Kent at least 4 or 5 times a piece, if not more. And I think each one of us has had Kent bring this up, and we've all explained it in different examples. Like, I explained it to him I asked him, how old do you think Mount Rushmore is? Do you think it was finished in like 1961? Do you think it's like 40 or 50 years old? Or do you think it's 6,000 years old? You know, because he would either say that the sculpture itself is a certain age, or the rock that makes it up means that it's that age. It's the same thing with the geologic layers and the material that makes up the layers, because when the sculpture is finished, you start the clock at 0 and we count up from that. And when the layer has been formed, you start the clock at 0. And Grayson, I love his example of saying like comparing the ages of people. Can you give that one, Grayson?
yeah, I asked Kent, who's older, me or you? Because all of the atoms that make us all up are all the same age, but we are not the same age because you formed earlier than I did. Even though all the atoms are the same age, we date things by the age of their formation.
Yeah, thank you, Left-Handed Jedi, for the gifting 5 Atheist Junior memberships. You can, if you got one, you can use the Pepe emojis in the chat now.
Thank you so much, Left-Handed Jedi. I'm going to read them out. That went to Alex Markel,
Okay.
Mark Stoney, Mark Reed.
Yes.
Thank you, mate. Left-Handed Jedi was gifted a membership by Left-Handed Jedi. There's some self-love right there. Some
Is that
self-love going out.
nepotism? Well, you should practice self-love in these trying times.
Does that count if you're favoring yourself? I don't think so. I don't think that counts. Maybe narcissism, not nepotism. Eric F. Also got a. Do you have a name for your memberships, or are they just memberships, AJ?
Junior Squad.
Junior Squad memberships going out. There you go.
All right.
Does majority opinion prove something is true? What about, well, it's published in peer-reviewed journals. Does that make it true? Important scientific study proves the results of a scientific study depend upon who's funding it. Yeah. I collect biology textbooks. I taught biology 15 years. I'm pretty knowledgeable on the subject. But I think you'll find that there's 2 ways to look at things. Look at this. Barringer crater. Wow. Look how close it came to hitting the visitor center. No. The fact that we find things in different layers is not proof of anything. All the layers formed in Noah's flood in 1 year with hydrologic sorting. Is the proof that a whole bunch of people follow communism in China? Does that prove it's true?
AJ.
I bet there are no anti-communist.
Maybe it only seems like this because we've been pausing, but like it seriously feels like Kent Hovind has just been talking for like 15 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Like I forgot that like Mandisa's even here in the room with him. Like when was the last time she even got to speak?
He's not addressing any of her points at all.
She gets
He's
to
on
reply
to his
pretty
own
soon.
points. Yeah.
Let's
But
just
he's not-
okay. Let's just power through and just get to Mandisa, please.
Well, somebody pointed out earlier that all he does is pick up on 1 or 2 words and then just rolls with that 1 or 2 words on his pre-prepared script. So he just picked up fossil record, which was almost in no way what Mandisa was talking about, and then just rolls this out because he doesn't want to talk to Mandisa about the implications of creationism on society and atheism on society. He wants to talk about evolution, and that includes his stupid stellar evolution and all these other types. There's 7 types of evolution. Yeah, but really, you idiot. But he wants to talk about that. So he doesn't want to actually have the debate with her. It's probably she went, no, I'm not having an evolution debate because I'm not an evolutionary biologist. And he probably went, well, then we can do this. But he doesn't, he's got absolutely no honesty in him at all, and he wants to debate something else.
I really hope that Mandisa can pivot well, get it back on track to a better conversation.
Peer-reviewed journals found in China, because you go to prison if you do that. 1.4 billion people follow this guy. Does that prove he's right? Does majority opinion prove Islam is right? A whole lot of people in Iran follow this guy. How many articles against Muhammad are published in peer-reviewed journals? None. They'll cut your head off. There's 1.9 billion Muslims who believe if you disagree, you should be killed. Does that prove they're right? So the fact that a lot of people followed Hitler, arguments are, nobody knows exactly the population, somewhere around 65 million people followed Hitler, and you better, or go to the gas chamber. And 6 million people died. The fact that somebody's in power and is in control of the media even, he controlled the media, he controlled the textbooks, and he was wrong. 60% of Russians claim to be atheists. It didn't prove they're right. So majority of North Korea prove they think communism's good, and the guy should never get a haircut. Okay. Mandisa believes if you succeed in getting all the blacks in the world to believe there's no God, does that prove there's no God? Of course not. Is that going to help the world? Is it going to help the black community? I would say no. I don't know if you believe it does, then go on your crusade. But I think I appreciate your zeal for your cause. Hitler had zeal for his cause too.
Wow.
Okay, so did Stalin, so did Mao Zedong. A lot of people have zeal for their cause. That is not.
Jeez, man.
So trying to help the black community is just as bad as invading Poland and making the Aryan race engage the Third Reich. You know, like those two things are not even in the same country, much less in the same ballpark. Like seriously, what are you talking about, Kent? Stop. Like stop.
Isn't it so weird, you guys, that when we debated Kent Hovind, he never once asked us about if atheism is beneficial for the white community? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
He never asked me at all about the white community.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's probably a coincidence.
There's not evidence that something is true. You're zealous, you're excited, you're pushing to get a cause. Yay. I think it's misdirected. So there is no geologic column. There is no proof the Earth is billions of years old. And there's not a possible explanation to explain this ink pen without a designer. Giving me the history of it does not answer my question. How did this one come to be? Did somebody make this, or did it make itself? Go ahead.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. And they're being made about my position.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to ask, where did you teach where did you get your credentials for your science background, and where did you teach it?
Here we go with the ad hominem attack, folks.
No, that is a valid question.
I'm a kindergarten dropout. I have no education whatsoever. But I'm smart.
So okay, so then there are religious schools that are accredited.
Right.
I'd like to. I mean, that was a valid question. Oakwood University, which is a historically black college university in Alabama. You have Notre Dame, which is a Catholic school. You have Yeshiva. You have your schools that are accredited, who also understand that there is a level of academic criteria that needs to take place in order to have a very valid and well-rounded education in addition to religious beliefs. Now, you're saying all of these things about what there is not. The conversation here today is atheism versus creationism.
Right.
Now, I am not asserting that God simply does not exist because I say so. I am saying that based on all of the previous assertions of God, that they are false. Now, you have not said anything about why your version of creation is true and why the earth is only about 10,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You showed a lot of pictures, you showed a lot of graphics, which actually do show that the earth is older than 6,000 to 10,000 years old. There are older religions that show that Jesus, as many believe, is older than the 2,000 years that it has been dated for each or that entity to be in existence. And so there are a lot of false comparisons here. I have never actually said that I want all Black folks to stop believing in God. I do take issue with religion as a whole, and you basically made my points for me. Was that you said that just because a whole bunch of people believe in it doesn't necessarily make it true.
Right.
That is true for the many versions of Christianity that purports that God, Jesus, Jehovah exists. So you are absolutely right about that. I think we are on the same page there. But like I said, I am not asserting and if we are going to go with that real world example, we can take people like Jim Jones, who led almost 1,000 people to their deaths in 1978, claiming that he was the Messiah, because that was a book that was he followed a book that was subject to interpretation, and that lended itself to this being without evidence. So really the onus to prove that these beings are real are on those who believe in it, i.e. you and others.
Sure.
There is nothing in what you said that you show that creationism is any more valid than evolution, and the evolutionary and how it came about. There is nothing there that you have proven there. So I would like to ask again, where does your accreditation come from? And is it based on actual scientific theory, or is it simply based on the Bible, the book that you believe in? And if it is, then we would consider that disingenuous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, it'd be an ad hominem attack about the
really
degree.
good.
It wouldn't.
No, it's not. It's not, because he's basically saying, oh, well, these peer reviewed is just popularity. She's saying it's people with education. So if you want to say, hey, you know more than these educated people, I think that's totally fine. It's not an ad hominem. It's just you're basically trying to bring the credentials of people in. But it's really good that she shifts the burden of proof back to him, because he's trying to say, like, prove it's not designed, prove that it is millions of years old. And you shouldn't have to do that in creation versus atheism. The burden's on you, Kent. You've got to show that the God is real.
I just want to point out the fact that Kent felt like she was doing an ad hominem, a personal attack against him, when she said, and what's your educational background, Kent? In like the nicest, most polite question.
Mm-hmm.
Just, hey, what's your educational background? The most inane question. And Kent's like, that's an ad hominem attack. It's like,
Yeah.
Wow.
This exchange is going to happen again, and it's super funny. So I want to
It
get
just
to that.
shows how sensitive he is
He's
about.
so insecure about it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's incredibly insecure. Like, because I mean, if you want to say, hey, I graduated high school, I've read a lot, but I have no formal education in this topic, that's totally fine. Don't forget, Mandisa was happy to say she's not a scientist, right? She was like, well, I'm not a scientist. That's the whole point. She's willing to say, hey, I'm not a scientist. I'm a community organizer, a community leader. Fantastic. What's your educational background? Well, I mean, even if you went to I taught science, but his
Whoa, Mark. No personal attacks now. Come on. Let's not ask people their educational backgrounds. Let's keep it civil.
Wow.
Right. Because if you claim to be a doctor with 4 PhDs, you should react like violently if somebody asks you what your education is. Like you said it. If you didn't say that, we wouldn't ask. You make the claim. You don't want to back it up.
There's 3 things that it's rude to talk to people about, right? Politics, religion, and their educational background.
Yeah. Especially if they're Dr. Kent Hovind. That's just way out of line, right?
Right.
Wouldn't matter what degree I had. Charles Darwin had only graduated from college to be a preacher. He had no other accreditation. But they call him a scientist today. The only degree he got, he couldn't even find a job as a preacher. So his dad got him a non-paying job for 5 years to sail around to be the ship's captain's companion. Because the captain of the ship wasn't allowed to socialize.
No. I've heard this before. It's basically, he wasn't called a scientist. There were no such thing as scientists at that day. And he wasn't just paid to lounge around in the ship. He was doing mapping and biology, which was natural philosophy at the point, because we didn't have science. There were no scientists. He's been told this again and again and again, and he just keeps lying his ass off.
He was called a naturalist. That's what they called him at the time.
Yep, naturalist.
Yeah, Kent is just like, oh, well, look, they called the guy that came up with the theory of evolution one of like the staples of modern biology. They called that guy a scientist. So why can't I be entitled to be called a scientist too? Like, that's really the argument he's making. It's like, well, look, if you call like one of the most important people in the history of biological science a scientist, then what problem could you possibly have with Kent being called a scientist or a doctor?
Yeah,
It's like, come on,
and
dude. Where's
Kent
your
claims Kent claims that Darwin that he was lazy and that his dad tried to get him put on the Beagle because he wanted him out of the house, basically, which is completely wrong because his dad did not want Darwin to leave. He had to be convinced by his cousin Hosea Wedgwood. He wrote a letter to Darwin's dad to convince him to allow Darwin to go on the boat. So Kent's totally wrong on this. But I'm just wondering, is this Kent admitting that his only degree is in religious studies? Because that seems like what his argument is. Darwin's only degree was in religious studies, and they call him a scientist. Well, are you saying that that's your only degree and you should be called a scientist equivalently, like Grayson said? Seems kind of like a weird admission.
With the men in those days on the British ships, you got to have somebody to talk to. So Charlie, you go with him and play chess when the sea's calm. But I think the whole question of accreditation. Are there any? Back to my example of in Muslim countries, are there all the schools teaching Islam? All the schools teach you should kill anybody who's not Islam? Yeah, that's what their Quran says. You're required to kill somebody that doesn't believe what you believe under their religion. There's 27 verses in the Quran that say that.
Real quick,
You're
just
required to kill.
Imagine running up, like walking into somebody on a street, a total stranger, you don't know them, and they tell you that they're a doctor, and you say, "Oh, wow, what are you a doctor in? Where'd you get your degree from?" And they say, well, excuse me, in Muslim countries, okay, if they told you to kill everyone, would you do it? Like, it's like, wait, what, sir? Are you okay? Yeah. Why don't you not ask people such ad hominem personal insults? Okay, like, it's like, if that was the reaction you got for asking their educational background, like, you would think that there's something deeply wrong with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Kill people who don't agree with you. I don't teach that, okay? But if you make your argument over in Iran or Iraq, saying, look, where's your accredited degree that says Muhammad is a prophet? Well, they would cut your head off for disagreeing with them. So the whole argument from accreditation is false at its face. I have 4 doctor's degrees, 3 earned, all from non-accredited Christian schools. I think if a person went to an accredited college and earned a doctor's degree and still believed they came from a rock, that person is stupid. Okay, I don't like their degree either. Just because they believe,
you came from a rock. Now,
yeah.
That's just an insult, right? That's just calling Mandisa stupid. Like, well, this is the thing.
He never questioned her educational background. He just called her stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, he is feeling so threatened right now. He's going to insults, and this is what he does a lot. And the people like Donnie and others, they'll just excuse it from him. Oh, well, he's not calling you stupid. He's calling people that believe in this thing stupid. Yeah, but that's me, right? But they let him get away with it. He gets away with it, and it's sort of baffling why he gets away with it, because like, he is one of the dumbest people on the face of the planet. Like, he is stupid. And I think it's that insecurity about himself that, leads him to accost others kind of thing. He projects everything.
Rock soup on billions of years ago, and you're related to a potato. They might have the highest degree there is. Somebody might be highly educated in Adolf Hitler's Nazism, but they're still wrong. So the whole argument from that. Now, as far as I give on my video number 1, to answer your question about the age of the Earth, I cover about 40 different ways to prove it cannot be billions of years old. For example, the moon goes around the Earth once every 27 days. The moon is about 239,000 miles away, okay? The moon is moving away from the Earth. Everybody agrees that studies this. The moon's moving away about 1.5 inches a year. It's called the lunar recession problem. The moon is leaving us, theatlantic.com. The young age for the moon and the Earth, Dr. Thomas Barnes. Spaceplace.nasa.gov. We're drifting apart. The moon is leaving the Earth 1.5 inches a year. Our moon is moving away, Forbes.com. The moon is moving away from the Earth 1.5 inches a year, astronomy.com. Okay? The moon is leaving us. I don't know anybody who argues with this. If you study it, you'll say the moon is leaving. Okay? Astronomy books are fond of quoting the fact the moon is gradually spiraling away from the Earth. Space Answer. NASA, physics.org. Why is the moon leaving us? The moon is moving away 4 centimeters, about 1.5 inches a year, 3.8 centimeters technically. Okay. Why is the moon getting further away from the Earth? BBC News, space.com. So I think you'll find everybody would agree the moon's moving away.
I don't think
And I
anyone
think common
argues
sense
that.
would tell us that means it used to be closer.
Yeah, it did used to be closer. Yes, but the mistake that he's making is assuming that it has always been moving at that amount, because the closer two bodies get to one another, the more gravity affects one another. So we think that the moon was created by Theia, a rogue planet hitting the Earth and causing the moon to essentially be a large amount of Earth basically knocked free. There's a bit of supporting evidence for that. I won't go into it, but we think that's how the moon formed. So at one point, it was not just close to us, but on us, right? Like actually us, like Earth. But as like those forces compelled it away, it's counteracted by the forces of gravity. Now, as it gets further away, the gravitational effect on the Earth is going to be less. That's it. The rate isn't constant. That's your defeater, Ken. And everybody has told him this. Everybody. But what do you say to a man who thinks that the craters on the moon were caused by rocks shot like a shotgun out of the Earth from the fountains of the deep opening? And I'm not even joking. That's what he thinks.
It's also so ironic because when Kent argues against radiometric dating, he'll use an analogy like you walk into a room and you see a candle burning and you say, oh, well, it's burning about 1 inch of candle per hour. So then it must have been. And then like he's like, oh, but then he'll point out that you're just assuming that it was burning at a constant rate. And it's like he will point that out in that analogy with the candle, but he won't see that that is the perfect analogy for exactly what he's done here with the moon, of just assuming the exact same rate can be just traced back infinitely into the past. Like he has no issues, no critical thought at all about, hey, maybe this rate would not be constant. And hey, maybe there's other ways for the moon to like lose energy rather than just get away from us. Like there's a lot of more complex dynamics than Kent is trying to paint here.
Yeah, he makes the exact same argument, trying to make an argument against radiometric dating, saying that you don't know that the decay rate was constant. Well, you don't know that the rate of the lunar precession was constant either, Kent.
Yep, exactly.
And,
we kind of
Mark,
know
please call it by its official name. It's the lunar bukkake hypothesis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. I think that sort of we do know that the radiometric decay rate is constant. We can literally set our clock by it, kind of thing. So I don't see a problem with that. But yeah, it's just what it is it's confirmation bias. It's kind of just seeing something and it confirming what you already think. He ignores the evidence against it and just goes for the evidence for it, even if that evidence is horrendously wrong. He doesn't care. He just wants to confirm his bias, and that's all. Lunar bukkake.
Well, it's okay when I do it. Hovind? Okay, from Rosina. For $9.99, it says Roche limit, people. Well, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep going.
If you bring the moon back in closer, you create a problem. The tides get higher. The closer the moon, the higher the tide is. Ask anybody who lives along the beach. When the moon goes in an oval around the Earth now, when the moon is closer, you get a spring tide, higher tide. Okay? Moon's leaving us 3.8 centimeters a year. Well, there's a law in physics called the inverse square law. If you bring something into 1/3 the distance and it's attracted by magnetic or gravitational pull,
can we
pause that
magnetic
1/3 fraction?
Yeah, no, it's magnets. It's magnets.
What did this have? What does any of this have to do with anything that she brought up at all?
Nothing.
Like, why are we talking about the moon right now?
he doesn't want to go to creationism versus evolution, creationism versus atheism, because then he's got the burden of proof to show a God. Hovind has avoided this topic all throughout his career. He just goes, well, I want you to prove evolution, because he doesn't want to have to prove any God or demonstrate any God or give any evidence for a God. So he'll just ignore that. And she did a great job in saying, hey, if this is atheism, God does not exist, or lack of evidence that God exists, versus creationism, that was God created everything, show that, because this could, like, just say he's correct, right? Just say he's absolutely correct. It doesn't prove a God. It doesn't even remotely get to proving a God, right? It's just a God of the gaps at that point. Like, you've got a gap. How did the moon thing? I'm putting my God in there. So he's avoiding going to, well, here's the evidence for God, because he doesn't have any evidence for God. He has evidence, or what he thinks is evidence, against evolution and against the age of the earth, geology, and against this. He doesn't have anything for a God. He has nothing.
Inverse it and square it.
I'm making an executive decision. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Thank you.
It's about time. The age of the earth. That's just one. I can give you all 40 if you'd like.
No, thank
I
you.
didn't. I asked about how does your creation belief stand up to scientific inquiry?
Oh,
How does
perfectly.
all of that sound? You have gone all the way around just to not answer that question.
Okay, no, I'm not avoiding any question. I think the scientific evidence is overwhelming. Somebody had to make this. And if you look at a single cell in your body, somebody had to make that. One cell in the average person's body is more complicated than the space shuttle. Nobody with 2 functioning brain cells would think the space shuttle could make itself. I think the scientific evidence is overwhelming. Complex things need a designer. Textbooks in school teach the kids everything is related. Humans are related to an octopus. The overwhelming scientific evidence says humans always produce baby humans. You have 3 children. We have 2 cows that are pregnant. I bet you $5 they're going to have a calf, nothing else. We know from scientific observation, cows produce cows every time.
Oh.
But why do they teach the kids in school that cows are related to a butterfly? Here's the answer they give. Well, give it enough time. There you go. You can't have enough time. Sorry, time's not available. So that's why I say evolution and atheism is a religion.
Okay, this just has always really bothered me. That Kent, you are not the arbiter of who can have time. You are not the deciding factor on if people are allowed to believe deep time is true. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, but don't you know about the moon, AJ?
What about it? It's leaving us? Everybody
Don't
agrees
you
on
know
that.
that if you agree that the moon is receding, then you don't have time. Evolution debunked. That creationism proved true.
Okay.
Which you're welcome to have. But don't call it science and don't call it smart. You can believe that all you want. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, what I said was, as an atheist, that I do think that scientific inquiry is important, and
Good.
also the research is important. Has it always been right? No, but everything that you're saying is absolutely misleading.
Ooh.
And there are absolutely things that you are saying that is just outright wrong. And once again, you in your apologetics are even proving your own belief to be ineffective, because according to what you believe, God, Jesus, made everything on this earth, and that he, because you believe in him as a form of a he,
Right.
designed everything.
Right.
Correct. Right?
Right.
So the dinosaurs that you have, on the replicas that you have, they're not based on anything. They're based on something someone who made it, just like the pen, based on older models of pens that have been historically created, and also different forms of being able to record things throughout human history. These are facts. These cannot be disputed. So there is nothing about this Brontosaurus in the Bible. You had to have taken that from the research that science and that historians have produced. That is not in the Bible at all. So again, how does your belief in a book that says that the earth is 10,000 years old, that does not have a name to the various species of the various types of dinosaurs. So you're taking information that has already been proven, and that has been proven in nature, and you're talking about something that is non-organic to the earth. A pen, yes, pens are man-made.
Okay.
Yes, I will take these 2 pens. They are man-made.
Well,
Just like religions are man-made.
But
Oh, you can have your pen back.
Okay.
I'm not taking
Like you said,
it.
you're going to take.
I'm just no, not at all. I have plenty of pens here.
Okay.
So yes, you are taking something
Did he just accuse her of stealing his pen?
Yep.
Even though earlier in the video, if you're paying attention, she said, like this black non-believers pen, we've got tons of these. Like, it's her pen, like for her organization. It's literally got her organization's name on it, and you're going, oh, you must have stolen that.
Mark,
I wonder why.
Look, he could not be racist. Okay, did you miss earlier where he said he would have done a better job than Abraham Lincoln? Okay, this man cannot be racist.
Yeah, exactly.
He would have
I'm just
freed the
wondering,
slaves before Abe.
why can't he be quiet when she's talking? I'm just wondering that. Like, yeah, yeah, oh, good, all right, yay.
Yeah.
Shut up, Ken.
Yep.
That's has
insane.
Been, and also just like these pens are man-made and have been developed over time,
right.
Religions are man-made.
Some of them.
Religions, no, all of them. All of them.
Even atheism.
Atheism is the lack of belief in any deity.
That wasn't developed by anybody?
No, it was not. It was the atheists have always been around as soon as some religious person said that God is real without evidence, and we said that it's junk.
I love that so much.
Dude, she just owns.
Yep.
That is absolutely our assertion. So you're taking all of these quote unquote scientific inquiries and what science and scientists say, and it is not an ad hominem to ask where I have some college education. I have a high school diploma, sir. Mm-hmm. So I don't make appeals to authority as far as accreditation, because that is not the only form of education. But the key is education, being able to take the information that you are given, and if you need to test it or replicate it, there are methods to do that. I do value that. Good. As an atheist, as a humanist, and as someone who values that. However, to just simply say that something exists simply because, and you are not providing irrefutable proof of that, again, that is irresponsible. That is disingenuous, and it has led to so many conflicts throughout the world, as you said, with the different things that people believe. And no, not all Muslims simply believe that if you don't subscribe to belief in Muhammad or Allah, that you're automatically going to be decapitated. That's the same way that other people could say that all Christians believe that if you don't believe in Jesus, that you're automatically going to hell. There are some Christian denominations that don't believe that anymore. They don't subscribe to that anymore. And again, there are 4 different methods of creationism here, and y'all all don't even agree with each other. Y'all don't agree with each other. So therefore, there is all sorts of room for error there when it comes to what you are asserting to be true.
Okay. Well, that's why everybody needs to agree with me. And that's why God sent you here. You're here. And you're wrong about several things there. Dinosaurs are in the Bible. The word dinosaur is not there because the word dinosaur was made up in 1841 by Richard Owen. It means terrible lizard. But in the book of Job, chapter 38, 39, 40, it talks about behemoth. It says this animal is the biggest animal God ever made, and he has a tail like a cedar tree.
That'd be a whale then.
Quickly, I just want to read the super chat from Roshina, 199. It says, "You'd think the Bible would mention the long necks of sauropod dinosaurs instead of making a penis joke." Well, Kent accuses me of being obsessed with anuses, but I think he's obsessed with whale penises and barnacle penises. If you've ever watched his Making Babies video on barnacles, I think he says the word penis 36 times. So yeah, But in Job, it's not talking about a cedar tree like the trunk of a tree. It's talking about how the branch of it would swing in the wind, which is a really thin branch, which could describe something like an elephant's tail. But God didn't. If God wanted to, he could have had the Bible be inspired to be written in a universal language that every human who ever existed would be able to understand. He's the one who scrambled the languages at the Tower of Babel. And look at how many problems have been caused by translation errors with the King James Bible versus the original Aramaic or Greek. There's always biblical scholars that are disagreeing on how to interpret these things because they have to be translated. And this is just another example.
He moves his tail like a cedar tree. You need to watch my video 3. I'll give you one if you'll watch it. So yes, dinosaurs are mentioned in the Bible. The Bible says before the flood came in the days of Noah, the people lived to be 900 years old. This is what the Bible says, and there's lots of historical evidence of legends that are found from countries around the world, China, India, countries that have ancient roots that go way back thousands of years. Almost all of them have a legend called the Golden Age. They'll say there was a time on earth when man used to live to be 1,000. Google Golden Age, and you'll see it's a very common legend among ancient cultures. Now, the Bible says 900, not 1,000, but it's a biological fact that reptiles never stop growing. Snakes, lizards, turtles, tortoises never stop growing. If they could live to be 900, they would get 60 feet long. They find fossil turtles 15-foot diameter, but the world's biggest turtle today is 5 feet. Well, how do you explain a 15-foot turtle? Before the flood came, this is the age when people lived to be 900, and they find fossil grasshoppers 2 feet long. They could not survive today. They couldn't breathe. Insects breathe through spiracles in their skin. They don't have lungs. It's a surface area to volume ratio problem. But the insects, dragonflies with 4-foot wingspan are found. They couldn't fly today. They find fossils of just about everything that are huge. I would say this is evidence that sometime on the earth, I think just 6,000 years ago, things were different. They find fossil.
So this chart right here, Ken Hovind, who constantly accuses evolution of not being science, this chart is what he bases his belief on. He says the Big Bang isn't science. This is what he bases his belief on how old the universe is, on the dates of the biblical patriarchs, which, like, how do you know that there are any dates missing from this? And also, people can't live to be 900 or 1,000 because we only get a set of baby teeth and a set of adult teeth, and we've never seen any skeletons that have teeth worn down enough to show that they lived for hundreds of years. We would have been able to notice that. So it's just ridiculous to suggest that.
All I'm seeing is lines on a page.
Yeah, lines on paper, Hovind. All TV.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much like so much of what he just said was just so freaking wrong. From just like the fact that no, not every ancient civilization has a golden age. Like the Greeks do. But like, yeah, isn't it funny how only like some of the Western civilizations have this golden age that he's talking about, and that some of the other ones that maybe Kent isn't as intimately aware of because maybe, you know, he hasn't done that many non-Eurocentric readings, but they don't have this mythical golden age that he's saying unites all these cultures. The same thing happens with these flood myths when creationists say that every culture has a flood myth. No, they don't. And then, like, the fact that he's saying, like, oh, well, all of these creatures are just modern creatures, but bigger. Like, no, Kent. Like even the one that he says is a dragonfly is not a modern dragonfly. It's not even in the same genus as modern dragonflies. There are anatomical differences between that, like, carboniferous animal and modern dragonflies. Like, when you compare these things, they're not just scaled up larger versions. And I'll just make the final point. The oxygen levels were lower during the Mesozoic. When the dinosaurs lived, the oxygen levels were lower than they were today. The only time they were higher for like a long period of time was during the Carboniferous, which is the only era that Ken has been talking about with the giant insects. But like, if you're talking about dinosaurs, I've literally heard Kent Hovind try to say that a Triceratops is just a giant version of a chameleon. It's like skeletally, they are completely different, and the oxygen levels at the time of the dinosaurs was lower than today. It falls apart on every facet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jackson's chameleon.
I think also that there's no evidence that people lived to be 900 or anything like it. That's just what his book says. Like, he doesn't have any evidence for this. It's just a claim that he makes. So really, you should just push back on, well, have you seen somebody live to 900? Have you seen a dog produce a dog? Have you seen somebody live to 900?
Yep.
He should have the same standard of evidence. If he's demanding to see evolution in progress, then we should have to see somebody live to be 900 and documented.
Yeah. And this debate is supposed to be about atheism versus creationism, not her defending evolution. But okay, we have a super chat from QEH for $5 New Zealand. It says somebody should ask Kent to call donkey farmers and ask them if fossils talk. I think that's a reference to the talking donkeys in the Bible, or the talking snakes in the Bible. I've never seen a snake talk. I've never seen any animal talk except for in the movie Babe.
Fossil ducks, 550-pound ducks, bigger than a horse. They find fossil beavers 8 feet long. We find fossils of just about everything alive today in gigantic form. So the Christians have a wonderful answer for that. The Bible is true. People used to live to be 900.
We find gigantic fossilized beavers. Hovind. That's proof. Okay, we have another super chat from Roshina for $4.99. It says, remember, if you ask Kent what identifies a dinosaur skeleton as a dinosaur, he does not know the answer. Yeah, I believe that's a debate with Dapper Dino, which is a classic Hovind debate if you haven't seen it. Great job on that one.
The world was different back then. It had a crystalline canopy above, water above the firmament where the birds fly. I cover all this in my seminar. So can I prove it? No. I believe it's true, and I think the evidence shows it's true. So yes, you're wrong about dinosaurs. They're mentioned in the Bible. Now, Abe Lincoln, I believe, dropped out of school in 2nd grade.
Okay.
So, he wasn't qualified to be president. He wasn't qualified to set the blacks free. He wasn't qualified for nothing. He dropped out in 2nd grade.
Okay.
Okay.
So what is and actually, like you said, the word dinosaur is not in the Bible.
Neither is computer. Neither is computer.
Yeah, and yet we use it, right? We certainly use it for our survival here.
Right.
Which goes to show even as far as if you don't believe in evolution as far as all of the different species, it shows the evolution of technology and what we use. Certainly people from ancient Greece believe that lightning was created because Zeus threw thunderbolts. We now know that isn't true.
I agree.
So therefore, and actually, where are the fossils for the people who live to be 900 years old? They don't exist.
Well, you're wrong about that.
Where is that? Sir, you made that assertion. Where are
Billy, those books I just had you put over there, there are many books written on the topic of giant skeletons that have been found. They over there?
Oh,
my library here.
Got it. Billy's got
There's
it.
a lot of evidence that, man,
those elusive fossils of the 900-year-old people. Billy, go get those real quick.
Yeah, these are always hoaxes. These are always Photoshop. They're never real. They always get debunked. These photos of giant skeletons or giants found.
It's
bullshit.
so funny to me how these creationists will say Tiktaalik, that's a fake. Archaeopteryx, that's a fake. Australopithecus, that's a hoax. Yeah. But they found a skeleton of 100-foot tall giant. Oh, I already know that's real. And it's actually the hoax is that they're trying to cover it up and trying to get rid of the evidence. And the Smithsonian is hiding the fossils in the basement.
Yeah, the Smithsonian keeps a bunch of fossils and bones in their records in the basement because of a conspiracy, not because they're a natural history museum and would have those on site. It's got to be some nefarious purpose.
He's proposed also the Smithsonian destroyed fossils as well, these giant skeletons, and that was actually a
priceless
joke
artifacts. Just destroyed them.
Well, a joke paper and like said that originated from a parody paper very similar to The Onion that said that the Smithsonian destroyed giant skeletons in the basement because it's so ludicrous no one would believe it, except for idiots like Kent Hovind, basically, who believes it, and Matt Powell, who believes the picture of pterodactyls with Civil War soldiers was real. It's laughable how absolutely gullible they are. No critical thinking ability.
My new favorite ridiculous belief is that God somehow protected Trump from getting killed, but like somehow still let him get his ear blown off.
No, AJ, what actually happened was that God, the bullet was on its way to Trump, and God redirected it so that it would actually just hit some unimportant pedestrian father of two. So God just redirected it to hit that other guy.
Right. Thank God for that.
Yeah, it was a miracle. He really, really wanted to kill that one dude in particular.
Yeah.
And used to be much bigger. Okay. Now that kind of evidence goes against the evolution religion. So they try to hide it. And
that was a simple answer, sir. Where are the actual fossils?
Well,
actually, that humans were 900 years old.
The Smithsonian has lots of the evidence in their basement because the evolution field teaches man started like.
We did not know that he was going to bring that up. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's Kent. He says the same stuff. Like you can like.
But it was right on cue.
The only thing more reliable than radiometric dating is the predictions of what Kent's going to say in any given debate. It's bingo cards are just easy to do. Like, he's a broken record. The man has not got an original thought in his head. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like a chimpanzee, and we're getting bigger, better, stronger, smarter. And the truth is, I can document this from teaching high schoolers 15 years. People are getting dumber.
You didn't teach in any public high school, Kent, because in order to teach at a public high school, you have to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited university. You don't.
Yeah.
No,
I think he taught Sunday school.
Let Kent's statement stand. He says, I taught Sunday school for 15 years, and I can personally testify these kids are so stupid.
What does that say about you then, as a teacher?
Yeah, it's like these stupid kids believe everything that Kent Hovind told them. So I think he's an expert. He has the authority to say how dumb they are.
Right. Okay. Thank you for another super chat from Roshina for $5. It says Kent also has books with photos of giant human bones that just use forced perspective to make them seem larger. Yeah, this is always these type of articles. They either use those type of like camera tricks or just out and out like Photoshop, just like making a normal body look bigger, and then people can source where the original like body or skeleton came from, and it was obviously resized. It's just kind of pathetic.
See, that's how you know it's real evidence, though, because if the scientists went through all the effort to fake an actual specimen that then goes through peer review and rounds of analyses for generations of researchers, and there's lots of photos of it, and you can go and see it in a museum and you can interact with it, then that's really obviously a fake, okay? Because, that's just how you would fake it. If it's a real, then all that would exist would be one photograph from a newspaper in the year 1911, and then the Smithsonian would come in and destroy all the evidence. And that's how you know it's real. If there's only one grainy old photograph from the early 20th century and all other evidence has been destroyed by higher powers, that's how you know it's real. Everything else is a fake. Don't trust it. It's all a bunch of evolutionist frauds.
Yeah, and a lot of the time with these giant claims, they actually have people with gigantism. So this is a real genetic disease where people grow to, incredible heights because they have gigantism, which is sort of a condition. But that doesn't mean there's a race of giants out there. It just means that occasionally we have people with very large skeletons. Charles Byrne, the Irish giant, is the one that I was thinking of that was in a museum, and it's actually been taken down because he didn't want to be put on display. And, the English did it anyway because the English, nobody's saying that these people didn't exist, but you're claiming there's a race of giants and you have zero evidence for it. Zero evidence.
Right. And we see, like Kent has talked about, people like Robert Wadlow and, Andre the Giant, Yao Ming, and these people almost always either have some type of difficulty walking without a cane or some type of prosthetic, or they almost always die at an early age, because this is basically a disability and a disorder. Not obviously humans weren't, we didn't have a huge population of people who were this big, because clearly this should prove to Kent that you can't have people on legs that long, because they can't support that body weight, and it just doesn't work at that level, but he cites it as evidence anyway, Robert Wadlow, it really is crazy how huge that guy was. Like, man.
Getting worse.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You should have sat in my classroom. So the
like
question
that.
is, the issue is, the Bible clearly says they live to be 900. A person that chews on anything, the masseter muscle and the frontalis muscle, the muscles of your face, pull on the bone. Any bodybuilder will tell you the more you lift weights and build your muscles, the more the bones grow. It's a slower process, but you gain bone density by muscle exercise. A person who lived to be 900 just simply chewing their food every day would end up with a larger brow ridge. I covered that last night, or yesterday, 2 nights ago. The brow ridge grows bigger, just leaning your head over and pulling it back up. The muscles at the back of your neck pull on the occipital bun. Your head would get longer. The Neanderthal skeletons that they're finding have large brow ridges and 13% bigger brains than ours.
No.
I think that's evident.
We have juvenile Neanderthal specimens.
Yeah.
So no, Kent.
Completely debunked. Yeah. Like this whole idea that chewing and facial expressions are going to cause you to have a Neanderthal's protruding brow is so dumb. Like, seriously, it's nonsense.
And again, Kent talks about somebody living to be 900 and chewing their food all the time. We would also see their teeth worn down to nothing, because we are not like crocodiles or alligators. If you ever looked at the teeth of a crocodile, they have pearly whites because they're constantly getting new teeth coming in. But I guess God didn't want to design humans that way, so we're stuck with just one set of adult teeth, and that's why a lot of people in their old age have to have dentures or have no teeth left, because we don't get another set. Good design.
Evidence they're living to be hundreds of years old. Not that they're half man, half monkey. That's evidence of old age. There's lots of
evidence that they lived older than what the Bible predates, not that they lived to be 900 years old.
Here we have a book that's never been proven wrong, claiming they lived to be 900. If you have some proof that that's wrong, this is what it says. I've chosen to believe that. But I admit, this is my faith.
Mm-hmm.
You believe these charts represent science. You believe that an amoeba produced all these life forms.
Actually, that's not what that is not what I believe.
Do you believe?
I also don't believe that we came from a rock. There is sufficient evidence to show that we came from different organisms.
Okay. And what evidence is that?
Yes.
How has any farmer in the world ever seen a cow produce a non-cow or a dog produce a non-dog?
There we go.
Well, where's the evidence?
Argument there.
Where's the evidence of any animal producing offspring other than their kind?
Where's the evidence for that animal being created out of thin air or nothing? Where's the evidence for that? Where's the evidence that a magic man, like if we're going to go into Strawman, Kent, where's the evidence that a magic man conjured these things from non-existence?
Right. And where's the evidence that we have a hyper-fast evolution from the time after these animals get off of Noah's Ark to the present day?
So don't forget, this is a creationism versus atheism debate. And Mandisa's sort of explained her position very well, sort of evolution and all of this kind of stuff, and the evidences behind it. But Kent wants it to be an evolution debate. He doesn't want to support creationism in any way, shape, or form. He does not want to give any evidence for it. She has pressed him time and time again of how this came about, and he just says the Bible says. His entire position could be summed up with the Bible says.
Yeah, or as Professor Dave says, some book says a thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why
I
should we
feel like
care?
he's almost been, I mean, for Kent Hovind standards, he's been upfront from the beginning. Like, he started out by saying, I don't have evidence for this. It's just my position, it's just my faith position. And then he said, oh, it's the only logical position. But yeah, he said that there's not evidence to support it. So at least he hasn't, so far, I have not heard him claim that he thinks that there is evidence to support his position.
There's none that I'm aware of. I've been at this for a long time. And you do believe you came from a rock. I'll show you right from your textbooks if this is what you believe. Big Bang Theory, the Earth cooled down. Let's see. I got thousands and thousands of slides here.
I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've had to be prepared for this because I want to convert you, okay?
Well, you're not going to.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
just give me,
that's
come on,
fine.
let me try at least, okay?
I mean, you can try. Yeah,
No.
let's go for it.
Because
She doesn't have to even allow
if I'm
you
right,
that.
then you're wrong. You're in trouble, Judge.
He doesn't have to allow him to try. You've got no rights over someone listening to you or somebody not.
Exactly.
Judgment Day.
Well,
I don't lose anything either way.
It's your hell. You burn in it.
Okay.
Just like everyone else will.
Well, no,
I mean,
no.
and I'm going
Hey,
to hell in every religion. Anyway,
I deserve to go to hell, but I'm not going. Okay,
No.
I got born again, been saved. Okay, the textbooks teach. Here we go. The origin of life, right here. Sorry, here I got so many things. Stellar evolution. I clicked the wrong button. I'm going. See, it really helps if you ask the questions in the same order that I have the answers. That would help a lot. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Right there. Put that up on screen, brother. Let's see. The sun's gravity pulled the dust into lumps. And at first, the Earth was a ball of molten rock. This is from factmonster.com. Let's see. Earth was formed. It was a hot ball of rock. First started off as a hot ball of melted rock orbiting the sun. Okay? National Pornographic. Earth was a hot ball of rock. Newest research says Earth was still a hot ball of rock. Okay? Earth was a hot ball of rock 4.6 billion years ago. Earth began as a hot ball of rock. Atheist Aaron Ra, I think you know him. He says,
sure do. Love him to pieces.
I'll debate him again anytime.
What's up, Aaron?
Hi, Aaron. Bring it on. Anytime, Aaron. Come down, sit right here, okay? He says, nobody believes we came from a rock. Well, the textbook says Earth began as a hot ball of rock, and 3.9 billion years ago, it rained on the rocks and turned them into soup, and the soup came alive. In the ocean, 3.5 billion years ago, the first...
That is not what they say now. Like, he's talking about sort of primordial soup, which has not been around for quite some time. But he's sort of strawmanning here because he's basically saying, hey, you think we came from a... Well, okay, yeah, he is strawmanning because sort of saying, hey, we came from a rock, just to say, hey, there were rocks and chemicals involved in the process. There was also water involved in the process somewhere along the line. There's also other chemicals involved in the process along the line. There was probably oxygen involved in the process somewhere along the line, or, you know, other gases involved in the process somewhere along the line. And sort of, we don't say, hey, we came from gas. You know, like it's sort of taking this idea of, well, it occurred on a hot molten ball as being, well, that's where it came from. That is not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and from Urshina for $1.99, it says, Kent is into looks maxing the jaw by chewing bark. Chad is going to have to translate this comment for me because I know it's related to incels, but I'm not up on all the lingo.
It just means looks maxing, you know, you're just trying to optimize your looks, your appearance.
Okay.
Looks maxing his job.
Oh,
yeah. So they chew stuff like, you know,
okay.
inserts and stuff to like build muscle around them.
Oh, really?
To look like alpha male or whatever. You know, I talk enough. I get enough exercise from my jaw just talking. So
Right.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. This is what
First living
this is what
organism.
looks maxing is like. This is
Kent's entire argument here is literally, well, if the Earth used to be a molten ball of rock, then that means evolution says that we came from rocks. And he just never stops to think that, hey, maybe the organic material that evolved into life wasn't from the molten rock of Earth.
Yeah.
Maybe that organic material was never a rock at any point in its history.
Yeah, I just want to point out that Kent actually called him Arn Ra for once. I just wanted to highlight that because I can't remember the last time he actually called him by that instead of Mr. Nelson, Arn Nelson, sun god. Actually called him Arn Ra and not Aaron Ra. It drives me crazy when the atheists do that. I don't know why they do that. Yeah, shout out Arn Ra.
Appeared. Earth started off as a ball of very, very hot liquid. A few 100 million years later, the temperature reached 2,000 degrees and Earth's core was formed. Earth formed 4.54 billion years ago. All these collisions and all that rock melted. The Earth was a hot ball of rock. This is from Berkeley University, okay? I'm sorry, University of California. Yeah, Berkeley, okay. Millions of years of rains created the oceans, and swirling in the waters of the oceans is chemicals. And the chemicals turned into a soup, and the soup came alive.
Can I just point out that textbook is from 1994? Like it is a 30-year-old textbook now.
Yeah.
Why are you using a 30-year-old textbook, Ken? Because the modern ones don't say what you want it to say. That's why.
He's literally just been repeatedly making the same point over and over again for like the last several minutes. It's like, let the poor woman talk.
When you pin them down, they have to admit, yeah, we do believe we came from a rock, slowly, over billions of years. Whether it's slowly or quickly, here's Yale University, former fireball, the Earth became habitable. It transformed itself. How Earth transformed itself? It was a hot ball of rock, and it slowly cooled down and rained on the rocks for millions of years. Well, tell me then, how did life get started on the planet? They're telling the kids this first life form.
Yeah.
That is not what the debate is about at all. Kent's just dodging. He's so slippery, and we've all been in this position. All three of us understand what it's like when you go to a point you've made, and he dodges completely and does this slippery thing. This is when I say to people, when you debate Kent, don't chase the rabbit, because this is what it is. It's supposed to make you mad about what he's saying, and so you talk about this. And my best advice is don't. Ignore it. Just go back to your original point. There's nothing saying. You can point out, you did not answer me on my previous point. I asked you how you justify your belief in God, and you provided nothing. You went to all of this stuff, which is trying to debunk evolution. Go back to where you were before, because he wants to lead you down this merry, silly dance of his, and he just keeps doing it over and over.
Yeah. Don't chase the Hovind dragon.
Yep. Don't chase the Hovind dragon. Sure.
Formed from the soup in the oceans, which was from the rocks melting from the rain on the rocks. If you don't believe you came from a rock, tell me, where did life get started?
Well, I certainly know that it did not come from this being that supposedly is
that's not the question.
No, I am telling you.
You know God didn't do it.
No, yes. I am pretty certain that the Christian God in the Bible that you believe in did not create the earth in 7 days, where he created everything even before the sun.
Okay.
That I definitely do not believe.
You will when we're done.
It is implausible. Now, all of these things that you mentioned, all of these things that are from billions of years old, yes, they do. There are definitely plenty of rocks on this earth, just like there are plenty of human beings. Now, certainly there were probably other organisms and species on this planet just the same as rocks. Now, am I a scientific expert? No, I am not. And you even admitted, you said that you taught science education.
I did.
We cannot actually, you said you were a kindergarten dropout, though. I'm sure you were being facetious there, which is fine. but because I can Jones with the best of them too. That's great.
Come on.
So therefore, for you to actually, say that, I mean, but there has to be some basis for why you simply but you said you disagree with it simply because of your faith.
No.
And your faith. Yeah.
I disagree with it because the scientific evidence says non-living things cannot make life. They're telling me in the textbooks and in the University of Bath when I was over there, and all these things are saying, we started from hot rock that got rained on and made soup, and the soup came alive. This is what they're teaching the kids. I see no evidence for that whatsoever. Primordial soup is what came alive and made the first life.
I don't think she was done talking, Ken.
Yeah, I don't think she was done talking either, but he doesn't care. Like when Hovind says something like, "Oh, we agree not to interrupt each other," he honestly doesn't. I mean, honestly, I'm using that very liberally there, but he doesn't think it applies to him. He'll agree to stuff, and I think that he believes that it doesn't apply to him when he agrees to it, because he'll just go ahead and do it anyway.
Right.
There's
Probably
like a
doesn't even
certain
think about
level of entitlement that comes about when you think that God is on your side, and you think that your purpose is so righteous that you're basically like the results, justify any means, because you're working for God's plan, you're saving people's souls. So if you have to lie about something, it serves a good purpose. And they justify it, and they feel that they're entitled to behave in any way that meets their ends.
Right, because they have to answer to God, which is ultimately just of them. That's just a voice in your head. It's just you at the end of the day. So you're living up to your own standard and your own conscience, if Kent has one. But, he says, get alone and ask God, God, are you pleased with what I'm doing? The answer is always going to be yes, because it's just you.
That's not science.
Which county or which school system actually teaches that in the words that you put it? Can you point
I can show you probably 300 textbooks that have this same idea that life began from the soup in the oceans. Where did the soup come from? It rained on the rocks for millions of years. If the earth was a hot ball of rock...
Okay, that's not what she asked. She asked for a specific school district.
Correct.
Okay. Roshina has another super chat for $1.99. It says, is or is not the Earth a planet, Kent? And then we have one from A1 Chiefs Fan 11 for $20. It says, Hovind cringe, comparing the slavery of an entire race of people with taxes. The lack of empathy is incredulous. If there was an afterlife, Kent would be in the front line to hell. Thank you to Chiefs Fan and Roshina for the super chats. Thank you for your generosity. I really appreciate that.
It really was insane for Kent to be like, I know a little bit something about intergenerational trauma resulting from ancestors being enslaved too, because I've paid taxes before. And like, first of all, no, you haven't. And second of all, like, that's just an insane comparison to make. I cannot believe, like, honestly, like, I'm impressed that Mandisa like even stayed. Like,
she is the picture of grace under fire.
Yeah.
Like, she has conducted herself in a way, that is just elegant above it all. I think it's amazing. But I also want to point out that this is the same Hovind who is saying that taxation is slavery. Cringe, absolutely. But he's also complaining because the government won't pave his roads and that they're dirt roads. So he wants to get them out there and pay for them to be covered because he doesn't want to pay for it. But he doesn't pay taxes. This is a hypocrite of the highest order. And, a lot of my videos with him engaging in the past, it's like, hypocrite Hovind for a reason. It's incredible.
Yeah. I just think this would make a great screenshot or thumbnail for this debate.
She got a great look right now.
Yeah.
She was kind of sizing him up, like, you can see that, like, you ain't shit look.
It's giving Kent the side eye.
There's no water there. It has to cool down enough for it to rain, and that makes the soup. What does primordial soup consist of? Primordial soup. This is common knowledge in every textbook. I won't take time this afternoon. We can look up all the textbooks, but this is what they teach. There's no other alternative theory besides somebody made it. Either nobody made this pen or somebody made the pen. Either somebody made life, a god, whichever god that is, or somebody outside of this world, or life had to make itself with natural processes. There is no scientific evidence of how life can make itself. The first self-replicating systems must have emerged in this organic soup. This is a university textbook right here on the shelf, taught at university level. It must have emerged. So I'm sorry, the scientific evidence is overwhelming that can't happen, even if they could make life in the laboratory. One atheist said, if they do ever make life in the laboratory, what are you going to say then? I'll say, well, that proves it takes intelligence to make life. Duh, why they got to do it in the laboratory? Why didn't it happen everywhere all the time? We got 17 ponds on our property here. Make some life. Lots of soup out there. So I wish you would admit, I wish atheists would admit, they believe by faith that life got started from non-living material.
No,
that is not biologically possible.
That is
okay, where did life get?
First of all, like I said, as an atheist, you are the one claiming that God made everything.
And you are claiming he did not. That's
correct.
We're both making a claim. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Pin him.
Kent, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but she's pinning him. She's going to pin him to you have the burden of proof, which is true. He's making the positive claim that God created everything. It's not enough to disprove evolution. That does not prove a God. So when you're claiming creationism, and this is why Hovind never debates with us about creationism, then he's taking a positive claim that God did a thing. You need to prove that. As in an atheist, you can be an atheist and not believe in evolution or abiogenesis or any science at all, right? You could be a spiritualist that thinks there's magic around us and spirits everywhere and still be an atheist because it relates to your God belief. You can be that. So he needs to demonstrate a God did it. It's harder to demonstrate a God didn't do it. That's not a positive belief, but I can make a few arguments right off the bat to at least give arguments why a God did not do it.
Yeah,
but he wants an evolution debate.
He could be a deist as well.
Right.
Because even if you steel man his argument, it would at best get you to deism. It wouldn't. He never makes that jump to I believe that not only was there a designer, but that it was my specific God from Christianity, from my specific sect of Christianity. Mm-hmm. That's just assumed by Kent.
I just love how she's like striking this like genie pose right now, and it's just exuding so much power. Like I gotta adopt this stance in more of my debates.
Yeah, it's a power stance.
Not letting him get away, and I commend her. I don't know if she's done any other debates. I would love to see other debates that she's done, because she really is like this. She's going to pin him if she knows what she's doing. She is going to pin him on his burden of proof and keep bringing up he hasn't met any burden of proof. He hasn't met it. He hasn't given any evidence whatsoever. You can hammer him on this. The reason why we don't is because he refuses to defend creationism, and this is why he gets hammered on it.
Claim based on your claim. You are taking a bunch of different facts or different scientific queries, and you are trying to fit them into what you believe. Now,
they fit
if
perfectly.
That is what the Earth shows, then fine.
It does.
Who are we? But it shows that the Earth is older than 10,000 years or 6,000 years. Whether or not we came from smaller organisms, that's fine. I'm not. Hey. There are scientists and folks who have studied that, and I have no issue with that. Like you said before, you were quick to say you weren't there at a certain period of time. Right. Neither was I. But the most plausible explanations are what do come from many scientific inquiries, the history, the study, and I find that again, and until your God, per se, can actually produce itself as an actual entity to say that all of this is wrong, Because that is, again, the basis of what you believe. Jesus is real. He could come and tell us who made this pen. Jesus, God, or whoever is in the Bible. He could come tell us that.
I think he did. I think he did better than that. I think he did come to Earth and tell us things. I think he inspired people to write a book, 40 different men over three different continents. And I think he preserved that book all through history. There is no book like the Bible. I believe it's flawless. I don't believe there's any scientific errors in it or mathematical errors. It's perfect. You got some? Let me see them. I've done whole.
Okay, the circumference of pi.
Yeah.
And what is a cubit? A cubit is used as a unit of measure all throughout the Bible, but a cubit could be different depending on the person. So that's not very mathematical or scientifically accurate.
Oh, I got a better one for you. It says that ants do not have a leader, yet they all work in concert.
They have a queen.
Ants famously have a leader. Yes.
Yeah.
Whole sessions on so-called contradictions in the Bible. The Bible is flawless. I think I can show you.
Oh my.
Take me on that one. This book claims to be inspired by God. I think the evidence shows that it is. But we got off track here. So your belief that this textbook says first self-replicating systems able to reproduce.
No. We didn't get off track. She got us back on track to the actual topic, which is atheism versus creationism. And Kent's taking us off track back to evolution versus creationism.
Yeah.
Well, he only meant
in
off
this-
track as in off of his script.
Yeah. He hates being taken off of his script.
Oh, yeah.
It's organic soup. Do you believe life got started without a God starting it?
Oh yes, I don't believe that any God, as far as how you believe in them, as far as human, as in human form, I do not believe that any sort of God. I don't believe in any creation story.
Right. I didn't have to be.
All of them are based on human imagination and human creation. That is really at the point of what we are supposed to be discussing here.
Sure.
My atheism versus your creationism, and why you think that the earth is 10,000 years old, and why I think that all religions, regardless of whether it is older than 10,000 years or whether it is 200 years old, similar or even more recent than that, like Scientology.
Right.
Why I believe all of them do not present valid evidence to believe in any type of God whatsoever.
And I would turn it around and say there's no valid evidence to say that nobody made it either. You believe atheism is a religion.
No,
it is. You keep saying no, but it is. You won't admit it.
Not.
You believe nobody made this.
No, I didn't. Wow.
Well, who made the world?
What a way to
Who made the
twist
world?
it. Like I said.
Asking the question starting with the word who is disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because you're presupposing that it was like a person or a being. It says who did it. It wasn't a who that did it.
Correct.
It was just the effects of the laws of physics happening in space. It was a planetesimal forming. It was part of the solar system forming and the accretion disk from the sun forming. That's what formed the Earth. It wasn't who formed it. It's not a person because it's not a conscious effort. It's just natural processes happening over an extremely long amount of time. But they can't fathom, they can't wrap their minds around deep time. I think that is the fundamental problem with a lot of people like Kent, is that they're just incredulous that you could ever have billions of years, because 6,000 years does seem like a really long time on our human time scales, and it's hard for us to imagine things that are bigger than that. And he preys on that.
The earth and the universe has formed and has transitioned over billions of years.
It's missing the question.
No.
Who made it?
No one
There you go.
person made it. No one person
That's my
made
point. You believe
Certainly
that.
not a God didn't. A
Okay,
bigger
that's
God
your
did not.
belief. You
No,
have.
no.
Or do you know?
There is
Are you-
plenty of evidence to show that, sir.
There's evidence that nobody made this. Where on earth could you find possible evidence?
First of all, I didn't say that no one particular person.
No God made the universe. Is that your position?
That is correct. I don't believe any God or divine entity or any sort of spirit made this universe or made this earth. I do not.
Well, then God sent you to the right place, because here you can be shown all that. We can teach you all that today. We'll give you the tour. It's overwhelming. If I drive along any town in the USA and I see a bridge over the river, I don't have to see who made it. I know somebody made it. I don't have to see who. Intuition says, nope, bridges don't make themselves. Somebody has to make them.
Yeah.
Cars don't.
And intuition tells us when we go outside and look at the horizon that the earth is flat, but it's not.
Right. And the whole point is, why does the bridge stand out to the mud bank beside it? Right? Because you can look at that and say, well, it's designed, but you don't go look at the mud bank and go, well, it's designed, do you? Because it was designed by somebody. It was designed by a god who presumably put that mud bank there for some reason, presumably to support the bridge or whatever. So why is the bridge special at all? What makes the bridge designed and the mud bank designed as well?
Yeah, and creationists want to take credit for God designing all the nice things like butterflies and sunsets, but they also have to give God credit for designing Ebola and shingles and Kid Rock and gonorrhea and the bubonic plague and all these other bad things, So you never hear him mention that, though.
So I also I must have been imagining things, honestly, because I thought I remembered Ken Hovind starting this conversation out as saying, well, yes, we can agree that there's not evidence for God. It's a position of faith. And now he's making the argument, well, everything is evidence of God, because haven't you seen a bridge before? Don't you know that if you see a bridge, then somebody needed to have made that bridge? And just like that bridge is analogous to everything in the universe. And if you've ever seen anything in the universe, then you know that a God is necessary to have made it. That's his argument. I mean, come on.
I once saw a video of an elephant that was painting. They put a paintbrush that he held in his trunk. So I'm going to extrapolate that to say that all paintings were painted by elephants.
Right. That's a good analogy, AJ. That's a really good analogy, actually.
I mean, I could say, hey, haven't you seen a pen before? Don't you know that humans are necessary to make pens? And so if humans are necessary to make things that are designed, then humans are necessary to have made the universe. There you go. It just makes just as much logical sense as Kent's syllogism.
Or the big company.
Humans must have made the universe.
And it has the advantage that at least you can demonstrate humans exist.
Boom. Yeah. It's a superior argument.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I can show you a human. I can't show you a god.
Yeah. It's like, how do we have evidence that Abraham Lincoln was president? Well, we know that humans exist, and we have evidence that presidents are a thing. We've elected presidents. We have a president currently. We know that that's something that can exist, and we have evidence for it. Even the presidents before the camera was invented, we still know that that's a thing, but we don't have that type of evidence for God creating a human or a universe or an earth or a banana or anything. Often. And from Abdullah, it says, just woke up still very early in the morning, forward to listening to the stream later. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for everybody who sent the super chats. I thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We're going to keep going.
Made because humans needed ways to get
over.
Oh,
I understand, right.
And so it came with humans being able to evolve and into.
Oh, that's just how the video is. Good job, Ken.
Smart training. It does take training. When levels of accreditation doesn't necessarily apply. That you don't think that someone who has to build doesn't have to be trained and accredited in that.
There are people all over the world building bridges that didn't go to school at all in different countries.
Yeah, and some of those bridges had to be perfected by people who did.
You have to go on an accredited degree.
Is his argument that engineers build bridges here, but non-engineers build bridges. Do you think that engineers don't build bridges? Do you think China doesn't have engineers working on bridges?
Mark,
what
he's
do you-
literally arguing against the concept of accreditation, like against the concept of being certified for something.
Do you think that they just like they have the mass Belt and Road bridges in China? Do you think they just let anybody wander in there and just put it up, kind of thing? Just
well, in other
about?
countries, Mark, anybody's allowed to build any bridge they want.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
Yeah.
My question would be to Kent is which bridge would you feel more safe driving on? The one that was designed by an accredited engineer and a team of architects that designed it, or somebody who has no accreditation or education who built a rickety bridge out of 2x4s? I mean, just if you look at the Millennium Bridge that opened in the year 2000 in London, they didn't account for the fact that having so many people walk on the bridge and people weren't in perfectly even step when they were walking, just that would cause the entire bridge to sway to the point where it's actually dangerous. They could have never accounted for that.
Incredible videos as well.
I think
if you've ever seen those videos, they're insane. It's called spontaneous synchronicity, and it's where basically the vibrations all mesh with one another. And they used to have people break step when marching across bridges in army formations.
That's why.
Right? Yeah.
I think, AJ, that you should ask him, would you rather travel across a bridge that was built by an engineer that received a degree from an accredited university, or from somebody that got 4 PhDs from Patriot University?
It was one of the best moments of any debate I've had against Kent was the last debate where I got to tell him that his degrees were fake. That was very satisfying.
Nobody said you had to have, they had to be perfected by folks with accredited degrees, though. Sure, people can find ways without formal education to be more, to be more productive in human society. However,
I'll be right back. I'm just going to let this play.
You cannot simply dismiss that based on beliefs that have, again, no basis in evidence, and you're taking from other scientific inquiry to try to prove that you're right, which is very irresponsible, sir.
Come on now. All the evidence in the world shows you cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs. And you won't find a farmer on the planet who's ever seen his cow produce a non-cow. So why should we teach the kids that cows are related to butterflies? There's no evidence for that. Butterflies always make baby butterflies every time. But you believe cows and butterflies are related, don't you?
No, actually, I don't. I don't simply think that they are just simply related like we would be a cousin.
Well, do they have a common ancestor?
Well, I don't think that they all simply have a common ancestor.
Well, the textbook says they do.
They may. But certainly, if your God created all of these things, then you believe they have I guess you believe they have a common ancestor as well, which is God.
No, I think all the butterflies probably might have had a common ancestor called a butterfly. And God gave them the ability to produce a variety. Just like there are 450 breeds of cows right now, they might have had a common ancestor called a cow. And God gave the original cows a gene code that's mind-boggling in complexity and can produce variations. Some can survive better in hot weather. Some survive better in cold weather. It's still a cow. Some can get bigger. Some can get smaller. Some give more milk. Some give less milk. Some have more beef. They're still cow. This is...
Sorry.
You really left us taking grenades in the trenches.
Yeah. I think Mandisa should pin him more on what's your explanation? How did God create these things, and what evidence do you have for that? Because he just wants to go back to evolution. It's Kent is a predictable creature. Like, he just wants to go to evolution, and that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
This is where the atheist goes nuts. They see variations within the kind and say, wow, this goes forever. They've been trying to get bigger, smaller dogs. They now have a 4.8-inch tall dog, a teacup chihuahua, completely useless. You think they'll ever get a dog as small as a flea? Well, no, there's a limit. This is where the evolutionist does not understand science. They think there's no limit. That protozoa that evolved in the soup was able to turn into a whale over billions of years. Put this one slide up, brother, would you? Okay. Life on Earth bloomed 3.7 billion years ago in the primordial soup. I showed you scientific evidence that the moon says Earth can't be more than 1 billion years old.
Really,
text-
where was that?
I just showed you about the moon is getting further from the Earth.
You said the moon is getting further from the Earth, not that the moon proves
no,
that
no.
the Earth is
All the scientists,
under billions of years.
all the scientists that study the lunar recession problem say, look, this is a 1.2 billion year max.
No, they
The
don't.
moon orbit would collapse 1.2 billion years ago.
Why? He literally just said that
100%
all
lie.
the scientists that work on this, literally not a single scientist that works on
Yeah.
it, what Kent just said, that's just a bald-faced lie.
Ask for a citation when he says stuff like that. Like, what's your citation? Which scientists are saying this?
Yeah, they actually say the opposite of what Kent just said. They actually simply explain that, like, through mechanisms of tidal locking, that you have processes that are going on for radiating away excess energy that are not just the moon getting away from us. There's like also has to do with its rotation. Like you cannot just pin down the age of the Earth based on the recession rate of the moon. Not a single scientist that studies lunar recession would ever say such a thing. The only person saying such a thing is Ken Hovind.
Yeah. Okay. I think. What do you say we give it another like 15 minutes or so, and then
Okay, yeah, I'm
we
good.
wrap the stream up? All right, because this, I know this part is, I do like this part because they get into some interesting stuff here, and I don't know, we might have to do a part 2. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this video on my channel by myself or with Grayson, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. This is a long freaking debate.
The inferior races. He had the Jews at the bottom of the list. Right above them was blacks. Hitler hated blacks. And when Jesse Owens, the black American athlete, won the most gold medals in 1936 in the Berlin Olympics, Hitler refused to shake his hand and walked out of the stadium. He said, it's not fair to make my men race against this animal. I'm telling you, evolution is the foundation for racism, not Christianity. Racism, read Charles Darwin's book. Can you grab that right there, the big fat one? Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Here's his book. Here's the title page, Favored Races. Darwin's book talks about certain races of humans are superior to others.
Yes, and that
Wrong. The Origin of Species only talks about animal species, wild animals, non-human animal species. It does not talk about races as in Caucasian, Hawaiian, Black, African, whatever. It's not talking about races in that way. I've told this directly to Kent, and he still lies about this.
Yeah.
So annoying. I'm sure
And
both of you have experienced that.
Even if he did, that doesn't mean that evolution is untrue. It
Right.
doesn't, right? It kind of is. Evolution is just a process. It's not good or bad. It's like saying, well, gravity kills people, so gravity bad. Well, no, it's just a natural process. Like, you can't say it's good or bad. It just is. And the whole idea that sort of subspecies, and don't even fight among themselves. It's just whatever evolves to fit its environment will be the winner and procreate. That's it. That's all it says. It doesn't say you should go out and kill all these people or anything of the sort. It doesn't. He is such a freaking liar. It is insane.
Yeah.
that is where many scientists have been flawed. Did I say that science was perfect? No, it is not. There been racist scientists? Absolutely.
Yeah,
but guess what? The enslavement of millions of African people was justified by the Catholic Church in particular through the Bible, through the curse of Ham. And I know you know that's in your Bible.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. The darker skinned Ham.
No,
yes,
it doesn't
that
say
is in
darker
your
skin.
book, yes.
It does say Ham was cursed. It does not say darker skin.
Yes, it does. say
It does
darker
not. You
skin.
need to
It
read your
was-
Bible.
Well, and it was justified by your
Well,
religious people.
See, they didn't read. They should have come talk to me. I would have told them that's not what that says. Come on, read it. I've read it hundreds of times. Okay. The black people are not cursed, and dark skin is not a curse. The Mormons teach that. The Catholic, I'm about as far from a Catholic as you can get.
So then how is it that this book that y'all all believe in
Right.
can produce so many levels of being subjective that people can base things on race based on this one belief that y'all claim is perfect? This is supposed to be the perfect word
Perfect
of the
book.
Christian
Perfect.
God.
Yeah.
Perfect. But yet there are so many different interpretations. Again, there are four different versions of creationism, and y'all all disagree with each other.
See, I'm right. That's why people need to come to me.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
That's why we got thousands of viewers on our channel. We're trying to get the world converted back. I believe that
So-
content profits all the time to his people.
Like, whenever he knows that he's beaten, he just retreats into like such a comical level of narcissism and arrogance that he tries to play off like he's making a joke. But really, I think that he's just like annoyed that you would try to talk back at him like this. And he just wants to try to like, lay down the law and just say, I'm the expert, shut up. Like, he did that to me once when I quoted the guy that he was trying to said that we evolved from rocks. And he said, well, don't listen to that guy. I'm the real expert. And now he's doing that here with her. Like, he's just saying, listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And I want to end this discussion now and just say, what I'm saying is right. If I had been alive back then when everyone was using the Bible to justify slavery, like not just the Roman Catholic Church, but the American South, the Southern Baptist Church, all these churches, Kent's own church denominations was using the Bible to justify slavery. And Kent just says, if I was around back then, I would have known the truth.
I would have set them straight.
I would have just gotten them to stop doing that, because I would have had superior arguments because I know the truth and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, I got a couple of things to say. First off, the grace and elegance that Mandisa basically says, well, I'm not saying all scientists haven't been racist. She is acknowledging something that is a point. Like, she is acknowledging, hey, some scientists in the past have been really racist. Some people have used evolution to be racist, kind of thing. It's not a contentious issue. It's not inherently racist. And I think that's what she's saying. And I totally agree with her. But also, I just want to address this curse of Ham thing. She's slightly incorrect, but overall, she is right. The curse of Ham wasn't talking about black people, like African people kind of thing. It was to justify, it wasn't said that Ham was black skin. It was Ham was a Canaanite, not an Israelite. It justified the Israelites' sort of control over all of the tribes of Canaan. So Ham was one of the Canaanites from one of the other tribes, basically. So it wasn't that he was darker of skin, but it was that he was a different race, and that is sort of part of the curse kind of thing. So she is actually correct when she says that the curse of Ham was related to race disparity among the people of Canaan. That is true. And again, Kent is wrong.
Well, and let's not forget why Ham was cursed.
Yeah, no, they still used the story of Ham to discriminate against black people, and
absolutely.
People still do that today. Like, I have talked to people that are in church congregations today that don't allow black people in their church, and they explained it to me using the story of the curse of Ham, like in the 2020s. Like, this is going on to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Jones University didn't allow interracial dating until the year 2000.
If anyone listening has ever gone to the Yellow Deli restaurants, those restaurants are literally run by a Christian fundamentalist cult that does not allow black people to work there.
Oof.
I had a dream before Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, just send Hovind over there. I'll set him right. I'll set him right.
I have a dream.
Haywire, read the book of Ezekiel or Daniel or Hosea or Isaiah, Jeremiah.
Oh, I was going to say, let's not forget why Ham was cursed, because Noah was a drunkard and fell asleep nude in his tent, and his sons walked in backwards, laying a blanket over him, and Noah was pissed when he woke up and was hungover and cursed his own son. So that was God. That was the most holy man on earth that God chose to survive the flood. He was the holy one. It was Noah, the drunk, weird, naked guy. Yeah. Okay.
He had to send his own prophets to get his people straightened out. He had to send Moses to lead them, the stubborn Jews. So no, I believe that God, there has to be a God to make.
There's no evidence of a historical Moses.
None. In fact, a lot of evidence against it.
The world. To me, it's logical. Somebody made this. It's too complex to happen by itself. If somebody made the world, then he owns it, and he makes the rules. And I think people want to avoid God's in their life because they don't like his rules. And they don't, like one atheist told me, I said, do you have evidence for evolution, or do you believe it because it's convenient for you or something like that? He said, I like evolution because I'm horny. I don't like God telling me I can't commit adultery. Okay,
Wow,
at least he's
that's
honest.
interesting.
Well, he's honest.
That's
Question.
very
Who is he saying he
What
said
has
that?
this got to do with the debate? Like just some random person.
I don't know, but she's got the best faces in this debate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she looks like she needs some help right now.
Well, there's a sort of geriatric racist talking about horniness next to her. I'm not surprised that's the face that like that's how I feel. I think she sums up all of our reactions to Kent talking this way.
This
Like, what
never
the-
happened.
what?
Like, this story never happened. And Kent says that, oh, you don't like the Bible because it goes against your lifestyle. Well, Kent, Sharia law would go against your lifestyle too. So that's why you don't believe that the God of the Quran is real. I could use the same argument with any religion.
I would bet that this story actually probably did happen, but this guy was just like messing with him, and Kent just joke. Like the guy's like, Kent's like, well, why do you believe in evolution? And the dude's just like, because I'm horny, dude. Fuck off. Like, and Kent's like, oh,
Because I'm DTF. Because I'm DTF. Yeah.
Down to Hovind.
Yeah, like the guy's like, oh, I
If
believe
you're
in evolution because I touch myself at night, and Kent's like, I knew it. Like,
I knew it. And they're like, they're his friends. He's like, you wouldn't believe what this guy believed. I told him this and he believed it.
Right.
Oh,
It's like
wow.
the fake slides that atheist organizations sent Kent that he actually put in his presentations for like months. Good stuff.
If you're an atheist, how do you tell right from wrong on any topic? Is it wrong to murder somebody? And if so, why?
Okay,
First
this
of
part's
all,
good.
It is wrong to murder just anyone just because.
Well, the lions do it to the zebras all the time.
Well, do you believe that is wrong?
No, does the lion believe
It is
it's
a
wrong?
matter of survival. It is a matter of them eating.
Okay, so if I have to survive and I want to kill my neighbors and steal all their stuff, that would be okay because I got to
it will
survive.
not. No,
That's what you're saying.
No, that is not what I said. I do not believe that.
So it's
simply
okay for the
because
lion to kill the
believes-
zebra and eat him because
But
he's got to
you're
survive.
talking about a different species here. You are
Well,
talking about a
I thought
different
man was-
species than the lion.
I thought man was just an animal.
No, well, there are some men who act like animals.
Well, yeah,
They
but-
really do.
Does man have a?
We're not wild animals.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
looking at any of them right now, sir.
I want to know, is it right or wrong for Kent to ever let this woman finish a single sentence? Like,
Yep.
He seriously cannot let her finish one sentence.
I think
Yeah.
he's trying to find flaws in her sort of areas where she is. Like, she hasn't taken the bait on evolution, so he's going to morality. Now, the last person on this earth that should be talking about morality is Kent Hovind. I would say, is it moral to pay your taxes?
Yeah.
Is it moral to elude your taxes and go to jail, Kent?
Is it moral to invite a known pedo and have them unsupervised around children?
Is it moral to beat your wife?
Is it moral to accuse people of murder, like Mark Stoney?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Is domestic abuse right or wrong, Kent?
Right.
Yeah. Is divorce right or wrong? I mean, that's a question Kent is weak on. He's not even qualified to be a pastor if you want to get into the technicalities.
Is adultery right or wrong? Technically, he's not in wedlock, and he's...
I say Kent is a serial fornicator. I can't prove he ever did adultery, but you can call him a serial fornicator.
It's a faith position. It's the only logical option.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody call him that? Wasn't it that weird preacher that called him that? The angry preacher.
Oh,
that
Steven
called him
Anderson.
that? Yeah, called him a serial fornicator. It's like, wow,
I only Ken Hovind can make Steven Anderson look good by comparison.
Right. Well, actually, no. Matt Powell could probably do that as well. Come to think of it.
Yeah. All right. I want to finish this. I really like what she says in this part about this topic. So I think we'll just finish this part and then we'll sort of give our final thoughts. That's okay with you guys.
Oh, there's something different between man. There's
Men
no
do
soul.
not- human beings, and you keep saying it is the form of men.
Okay,
which
I'm
of
sorry.
course- Yes, which of course the Bible does favor men over anything else. So and in other religions, there are deities that are in the form of women.
Uh-huh.
Certainly not in the Christian Bible, though.
Well, should we go open the can of worms? Are there more than two genders? I tell the
No.
don't
because
open
first
that.
of all, this is
Okay.
if we want to talk about atheism versus creationism, which
Right,
is
right.
where we're supposed to be, right?
Because I invite all of them to come try to milk our bull if they think there's more than two. Okay. Just try. I want to watch that from a distance. I want to see that one with a zoom camera, and we'll play it on one of them funny videos. Okay. So back to the question. As an atheist, where's the standard for right and wrong? Is it wrong to murder your neighbor's baby and eat it?
Of course it is.
Why? Who decided that?
Of
The
course
zebra,
it is.
the
Just like
lion.
it's wrong for
why?
some deity to demand that he kill his son and to say, "Oh, I was just kidding," like Abraham.
Well, you're
Or like
you're
Abraham.
evading the
No,
question.
No, I'm
No,
not. Just
yeah.
like I think it is wrong for some deity that you call God to try to say, "Hey, prove your loyalty to me by killing your son." I think that is wrong.
Why would it be wrong to kill your son? Don't some animals do that now?
No.
Some animal. Oh yeah, animals do that
As
all
an
the time.
atheist, I don't simply believe that murder is just. And that is because I try to treat people the way I would like to be treated, and I see the overall value of human beings.
Okay,
So
so-
I don't sit up here and just simply say, "I don't like you, I should kill you." Now that is not me lacking morals because I don't believe in a God.
I'd like you to tell me, where do your morals come from then?
So they come from they come from a variety of places.
And what if
They
I have
come
different?
from-
What if somebody has different morals and they think it's okay to come steal your stuff?
Let
Well,
her
then
answer.
there would be a response to that. If someone thinks it's okay to steal my stuff, then there are things that I can do to defend myself and protect myself. But
Right.
going back to where my morals come from,
Where did they come from?
they come from a variety of things. They come from my upbringing.
Mhm.
I certainly read various forms of mythology and also learning about different societies and different cultures, also coming from my parents and my family and those who value family and also the education.
Right.
So there are many different forms or many different ways I arrive at my sense of morality.
Good. So is there?
Now, it doesn't necessarily always have to. Now, what some people may consider moral or just might be a little bit different than mine, as long as it is not infringing on my right to live or on my right, then fine. We may disagree on that, but that's fine. I'm not going to just simply judge you or condemn you simply because you may not have the same moral code that
Okay.
I have. But you don't have to believe in a God in order to have a sense of morality. In fact, it actually expands that. It expands beyond belief in a God.
Okay.
And then it actually makes me more moral because I don't.
So if you have a neighbor that does not have your same morals and he thinks it is okay to steal or murder,
Then
Now-
he's going to have a problem. He, she,
well,
or it
why
will have a problem.
why should they have a problem? Because they get their moral maybe their moral standard's right and yours is wrong.
Well, why would it be okay for them to take something that doesn't belong to them?
Well, doesn't the lion go next door and kill the zebra
No, but
baby?
we are talking about a species of people who can communicate the same way. We are able to talk to each other, or at least we
Right.
should be able to comprehend with each
So
other.
man is different than the animals.
Well, of course, man is somewhat different than animals. Do we share same traits? Do we share certain animalistic abilities? Yeah, I think we do. I think we do.
I agree.
Now, do we all communicate the same? No. Would I want to be in close proximity with the lion? I don't think you would either.
Right. No.
Now, I hope you're okay because you mentioned snakes before. I hope you're okay
I'm fine.
from the snake. Good.
I had miserable
because-
12 hours and I'm fine.
Well, that's good because snake bites can kill. But yeah, I'm glad you're okay. Would I want to be
Okay,
in the
okay.
proximity of a
So,
snake? No.
I want to start a conspiracy theory. I think that Kent Hovind handled the snake because he read the long ending of Mark, which says that true believers are immune to poison and can handle snakes, kind of thing. I'm going to start the conspiracy theory right here. Kent was trying to do the snake handling.
I think he was just dumb and messed up and thought he was picking up a non-poisonous snake.
Well, okay, I'm going to be the actually guy and say that it's usually the term is venomous and not poisonous, although there are poisonous snakes that exist.
Didn't I say venomous? Oh, who said venomous? Who said poisonous?
I think you did. Grayson said poisonous. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
But
okay.
Kent,
said venomous.
yeah, Kent, he picked up a snake that was a rattlesnake because he thought it was a snake from his stepdaughter's pet collection of pets. Even if that's true, you should never pick up a snake with your bare hands, because even if it was a pet snake, if a snake has escaped from its aquarium, it's probably cold, it's probably hungry, and it's probably scared. So it's likely to lash out at you if you try to pick it up. I'm speaking from personal experience on this one. So that's why professional snake trainers and herpetologists use hooks to pick up snakes. They don't pick them up with their bare hands. I mean, they might sometimes if they're really experienced, but you'll always see them using those hooks, and they grab it by the back of the head to neutralize it so it can't bite. I'm sure Kent did nothing like that. He just thought, oh, I got bit, but I can shock myself with a spark plug and that'll fix it. Except I went to the hospital anyway, and spent thousands, or they got an anti-venom that costs like thousands of dollars. So I'm sure Kent appreciates that aspect of science that led to the discovery of anti-venom. It's just the evolution part of science that's really bad and he doesn't like.
Bet you anything he wasn't insured. I bet you anything. Like,
of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Insurance is slavery, much like taxes.
Right.
Oh, and from A1 Cheese Stand 11 for $20 says, AJ, hi, and hi to Mark and Grayson. You three are so great together. Laughs, learning, and debunking one of the dumbest people. Good times. Well, I agree. And thank you, Chiefs fan, for the super chat. Thank you, everybody who's been sending them. I really appreciate that.
Fan.
I think this is almost one of the longest live streams you've ever done, AJ.
Well, I want to get to the 1:15 mark because she says something that's pretty funny.
All right, let's just skip to it.
If there is a snake that comes on my property, it will see its life end.
Yeah.
But
just going to skip ahead a little bit.
And definitely all Christians don't agree with you.
So
I don't agree with all atheists
well, listen,
either.
So if a lion goes next door, kills the zebra baby and eats it, it's okay because he's hungry. But if a person goes next door and kills a human baby and eats it because he's hungry, it's not okay because humans are different than lions.
Why would a human being?
Why doesn't matter? If they do,
matter,
if
really
a person is starving to death and they go next door and kill the neighbor baby and eat it, is that okay? It is for the lion. He's starving to death, man. Go kill that baby zebra.
No, because
where's the moral standard? Where's the equivalency?
The moral standard is that, for one, yes, in their natural habitat, lions will kill other species, and there are other species who may kill each other to eat,
right,
and to feed their young, and to feed. Actually, it's the lioness. It's the lioness that hunts. It's not
sometimes the lion does.
No, it's the female. It's the woman lion.
Usually the man sits home.
Women do have, and females do ultimately have more power than
a whole
men.
other debate on this one.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
okay.
The male lion doesn't hunt.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. Only if it's like a lone lion that's been, thrown out of the sort of group.
Right.
So
the lionesses do all of the hunting.
Yeah. I wanted to show this, and there's one more thing I want to show.
For themselves. Again, the fact that there are so many different Christian factions fighting among each other.
I know.
Prove that this God doesn't exist.
No, it just proves they all need to come listen to me because I got this.
So you're God. You think you're God?
That's correct.
See?
No, I'm not God. I'm not God. I worship the right God. I have the right book.
Well, interesting.
I didn't say I was God. Don't. Just quote
wow.
me.
Whoa! Wait! Let's run it back. DJ.
Run it back. Can we clip that?
I had to show that part.
Oh yes.
You saved this all the way to the very end, AJ.
Can't even make it happen.
Yes, I did. This is my favorite part of this whole debate. All right.
But that's why I admit mine's a religion, and you don't admit yours is a religion.
No, but it's not.
It is.
Yeah,
It can happen scientifically, be a short definition of it.
right.
You believe that there's no God. You can't prove such a thing, but you believe that. But you won't admit that's a faith of yours. You think it's scientific. You can prove there's no God.
I'm not trying to prove there is no God.
Well,
People who believe like you often prove that for themselves. Again, the fact that there are so many different Christian factions fighting among each other
I know.
prove that this God doesn't exist.
No, it just proves they all need to come listen to me because
No,
I got the.
So you're God. You think you're God.
That's correct.
See?
No, I'm not God. I'm not God. I worship the right God. I have the right book.
Well, interesting.
I didn't say I was God. Don't misquote me on that. So,
Well,
I'm-
you said it.
Can
I
anyone
did
say
not. I did
Freudian
not. I
slip?
So I said I've got the right interpretation. So, if I'm wrong,
Nice.
Okay.
Freudian slip. Freudian slip.
Yeah, it's a Hovindian slip there. Okay.
Yeah. So if anyone unfamiliar, Freudian slips basically where you say what you really mean accidentally before you can sort of moderate yourself, sort of thing. But I don't know. I mean, it was probably he was just saying, you're correct too. Oh, but it's hilarious because like he's working upwards, right? He was like, oh, the prophets, I'm like one of the prophets, and I'm like Jesus. And now it's just like, well, if you're gonna make shit up, Ken, just go hog wild. Just say you're God. Like seriously, why not?
At a very minimum, he seems to think of himself as a prophet of God. Like that should
Right.
scare you. That's the minimum that he
Yeah.
thinks that he is. Like he could also be a Messiah. I mean, I think that he could completely think of himself as a Messiah who was sent here to lead God's people away from the lies, the devilry of evolution.
Evolution. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that he could easily view himself as a Messiah. And in terms of thinking of himself as God himself, I think that maybe to bring Freud back into this, I think on an ego level, maybe he's not there, but on an id level, like deep down, like I think that he's probably having dreams where he is God.
Yeah. Fantasies. Okay, I want to give both of you as much time as you need to give your final comments. So, Mark, why don't you go first?
Oh, I loved the debate. I thought it was amazing. Mandisa was amazing. It was interesting to see, and I think like she really demonstrated that ability to talk, say what you need to say. Don't let Ken interrupt you. There was a few times, especially in just that last segment, where like he tried to interrupt and she was just kept on talking, just powered through. And I think that was wonderful. But all the entire time, she didn't lose that poise that she had. And I talk about it a lot, the poise or the sort of composure. She wasn't breaking down. She wasn't, her facial expression said everything that she wanted to say without her actually saying it. But no, and a fantastic performance from her, and not just performance, but great arguments. And she knew what Kent was doing. She had prepared thoroughly. I think that's key, because she knew she'd drag it to evolution, and she just didn't let it go there. And I think that was absolutely fantastic. And Kent tapped out. He tapped out. He was basically, oh, we've got to wrap this up. I have to be somewhere or do something, or, which he always does when he's being thrashed. Like, Donnie, how much time we got? We've got to wrap this up. I've got important things to do with my chickens or something. Like seriously.
So,
but I loved it. Yeah.
I'll be a little bit meaner than Mark, but I do think that she's obviously like a really, really like excellent public speaker. Like she's really, really good at just like, speaking off the cuff. She's got great cadence. She makes great points. She's a great speaker. I do disagree though on Mark in her preparation, maybe, because I had a slightly different reading of it, where to me it seemed like she wasn't the most well versed in Kentisms. You know, she didn't like, because some of the questions that she was asking Kent, I was just like, no, don't ask him that, because I know exactly what Kent is going to say in response, because you're like letting him get back to his script when some of these questions were being asked, or like some of the ways that she was interacting with him. I was just like, you know, don't even let Kent go down that rabbit hole. Like, and so I felt like maybe if she did, if she had, she had been maybe more familiar with all the intricacies and nuances of Kent's position, I feel like she could have avoided like asking him clarifying questions that are just going to derail us into another like 20-minute aside of Kent's rambles. And like, she might have already known what his position was on something and would have gone in for like an attack on it. Or like, rather than just asking him to clarify things, she could have gone in with a specific, like, here's, I'm going to attack a weakness of your position. But I mean, that's obviously a pretty small thing. Like, I literally don't think like going into a debate with Kent and not knowing like his script beforehand, not knowing all the details of his position, I don't think that you could probably do a better job just going in blind, like knowing your position, knowing your arguments, and just going in and having a conversation with Kent. Like, I literally don't think that you could do better than she did in this exchange.
I don't know, Grayson. I've seen experienced debaters, and I must admit that I have like watched Kent and seen all of his arguments. Yet I've asked a question or two in a debate and gone, "Oh, I should not have said that." Like, it's just going to take him down this rabbit hole. So I can't begrudge her for that, because we know we have all looked at Kent's arguments because they're all absolute crap, and we've still asked those questions and gone, oh no, like he's just going to go back to the dogs don't produce dogs.
Yeah.
So I can't begrudge her for that. But you're probably right. I mean, there are probably splits here and there where she did do that, but I don't know, I'm being generous because we all have done that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I think she absolutely is the winner of this debate, and I think that she should be very proud of herself for her performance. I think she totally did a great job, and it's commendable. Probably one of the best debates I've seen in a long time. One of the most entertaining. And yeah, I mean, could it have been even better? I think so. But like you said, Grayson, considering this is somebody who is a woman, and she went and faced Ken Hovind without having the level of experience debating him that we have, and went in person and debated him and stood her ground and didn't let Kent control the topic, control the flow of the debate too much. Kent desperately tried to do that. But one thing that I thought was great is that she repeated her questions, which is just the best thing you can do against Kent. Is just ask your questions more than once, because if he doesn't answer them, it's because he will always try to dodge any question that you throw at him, always, because it's much easier to try and pick apart somebody else's position than it is to defend your own position, and that's like Kent's entire MO for his whole debate career. But yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time to come on. This is, as usual, a lot of fun. I'm not surprised. So you guys go and subscribe to both of these guys. Like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I'm getting this close to 9,000 subs, so I can do an over 9,000 stream. I really want to do that. And yeah, I have channel memberships. I have Patreon. I think, and yeah, go do all the things. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. I'm tired. Bye bye.